What is happening? Hi. I'll get you up in just 1 second. Let me assign you. You did great. Not that I'm streaming. I will be up in just a minute, so I'll have this stuff. You're perfect. All right. And then I will green screen you because I have the ability. I won't do that. Excellent. Up on Substack and Instagram, and then we will get started. Yeah. On Instagram, and Substack is good to go. YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, all good. Oh, here we go. Now, it's very exciting. It's very exciting. We're getting ready to start a show. It's very exciting. As we do, get out of studio mode and make it here. There we go. This. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to come in here real quick, and then I'm going to join you first off, right out of the gate, if I may. It's a very special day for me, especially. Just got off the Steph show, crowbarring my way into her broadcast as hackerish as I can to get over here so that I could bring in our dear friend John Fuglesang, who is, I had to move him, center him. There you go. Hey, there he is. Today, fellow sexy liberal and touring buddy. We've been through, as they would say, post-Vietnam, the shit together, my friend. We've seen it. We've got the long stare of being on tour during these times in the comedy world, and I want to welcome you to the show. Great to have you here. How you doing, first of all? Yeah, right. Or I don't know if they'll just shove you in, and we don't even need to invite them anymore. I think we just wait. Right. Okay. So I don't know if you've seen this, from yesterday or whatever, and I know you've certainly heard about the update. This is the breaking news aspect of things. Is the Signal Chat thing, of course, just gets dumber. I've said like season 2 of Signal Chat. they like fired all the writers from House of Cards and replaced them with King of Queens. Like it is not. They're not thinking these plots out anymore. And the news story is, of course, I'm sure you know that his wife, his brother, and his personal attorney were on another Signal chat called like Defense Team, essentially. And well, I know you were going to have many of the same detail issues that I'm going to have, and we'll pop off those. But he was asked about it yesterday at the Easter egg roll, and he went straight Trump for the whole thing. So let me go to here real quick. This is him talking, and you should be able to hear this, I think. Yeah.
Hey, we're happy to be here.
Can you hear that okay?
I'll tell you that. Be with the family, beautiful day. And President Trump is changing the country. And he's creating opportunities for families all across America to better their lives. And that's what Make America Great Again is all about.
Do you have anything you want to say, sir, about the Signal chat controversy?
You know, what a big surprise that a few leakers get fired and suddenly a bunch of hit pieces come out from the same media that peddled the Russia hoax. Won't give back their Pulitzers. They got Pulitzers for a bunch of lies. Pulitzers for a bunch of lies. And on hoaxes, time and time and time again. And as they peddle those lies, no one ever calls them on it. See, this is what the media does. They take anonymous sources from disgruntled former employees, and then they try to slash and burn people and ruin their reputations. Not going to work.
Okay, so you get the general idea. He goes full Trump on this. And I have to say, John, like, he almost had it, like audience of one. I think he almost had it until he went, this is what this is. When he did that kind of almost half laugh in it, you're like, nah, this is getting to him. This is not good. This is not, having to batten down these hatches is not good. And his kids are standing in the background, and they all look like they've been hit in the face with a shovel by, watching dad have to like yell at strangers like an asshole. Right. Mm-hmm. He gave up so much. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. I don't know that I can. Yes, hold on. I'm having an audio issue. I'm making sure that we get that in there. Audio this thing. You should be getting the audio from here to make sure that I'm getting the right one. Beg your pardon. I want to make sure we're getting quality audio after that little piece. Settings. Hold on 1 second. Yes, because we would hate to have those ramps. Okay, so the desktop audio is that guy. Oh, I see. This guy. Sorry. There we go. Check, and I think we should be able to hear you now.
Okay.
Yes, there he is. Lovely.
We okay
yes,
now?
beautiful.
Yeah.
Yes, much better.
Some of my comments are okay if you can hear them. Sometimes.
Yes, that's right. I had to. You were censored by the deep state. But
Yes.
Okay, so there are so many details in a lot of these things, and it's almost like you and I know this. Like, we're doing this weekend. We're doing the not the White House Correspondents' Dinner together.
Very
Tickets
exciting.
available at politicalvoicesnetwork.com. I just talked to Chris and them about getting a link up on the page so that people can actually buy tickets. But
I'll send it. I'll send it to you, and I tagged you in a posting about it yesterday, and I'll make sure that those mooks get it to you.
Yes, well, I mean, it's they were he was referencing on the show to send people to politicalvoicesnetwork.com to Substack essentially, and there's no link on there for it. So
It's
that's
actually
what
at meathook.live
Meathook, yes.
is where we go.
Yep.
MEET hook .live/not is the way to go. But this will be all over our socials. It's going to be a really, really funny event. When they fired Amber Ruffin, you know, I know that you were part of the evil cauldron that cooked this up. And the whole notion was, well, let's take back the mic and give people something to watch that night. So it's a pay-per-view special with about 15 really great comics or influencers or just pundits, and you're part of it. Miss Elaine Boozler, who actually hosted one of the Correspondence Dinners, is on this. Great comics from Alonzo Bowden to Chuck Nice, our friends Frangela. Stephanie Miller is now participating as well. Glenn Kirshner is going to be a part of this. A lot of great online people. It's a really, really strong lineup of really funny folks.
Yes. So it is, and by the way, the cost is $20.26, not for nothing. And we will put the link in the chat so that everybody has it, and if they could help us share that out, that would be incredibly helpful. And this is there it is. It does exist. It can't be there. So one of the things. One of the things that you and I deal with when we're doing the Sexy Liberal shows live is that a lot of times we're writing right up to the last second, because in the old days you could stretch a joke out for a couple of weeks maybe because a scandal would take a little time to percolate. Now there are so many. I'm not even worried about overlap with even this many great guests paying this much attention, being as wonky as they are, because we could all just go down our own rabbit holes and never run out of material.
Yes. I mean, we were playing in Durham the week that the stories about Mark Robinson broke, that he was the black Nazi who was into transgender porn. The week we were playing in the state he was running for governor. So, yeah, it was sort of like, well, let's throw out our set for this stop. Which was great. And that's, normally the dodgy thing about doing political comedy shows is, are you going to do the same kind of jokes, the same kind of material, the same kind of setups as somebody else in the lineup? It happens all the time. Every comedian has a story of somebody else doing a similar joke and all that. But you're right. There's just such a vast playing field of malfeasance, double talk and jive, and right fuckery, Mr. Sparks. There's so many areas. We could spend all day talking about Pete Hegseth, and somebody else could spend the entire day talking about setting our economy on fire, while someone else could talk about deporting people illegally when it's not even a deportation because those are supposed to be legal. So there's so much that we can mock. And I just want to say, I promise, if you make me the next pope, I'll stop drinking. I'll stop drinking. That's my promise. Okay, I'm promising everyone. Just I'll stop if I get this job.
I'm sorry.
I will show my commitment.
I call bullshit. I will actually. I think the chances are that you will pick up drinking the hard stuff after that. And
no. I'm following this model, the Hegseth model. I'm going to promise to stop being an alcoholic if you give me the job. So I can't wait. It's working out great for him.
Okay, that's the other thing. Allegedly, all these mistakes are being done sober. Right?
Yeah, I know.
Maybe we were better off if he was too drunk to actually tweet or something. You know what I mean? Like, maybe if somebody slipped him some sauce, he would black out, and his assistants, who occasionally know what's going on.
There's so many possibilities, Hal. Maybe he's bringing the wrong wife into top secret classified meetings. I don't know. There's so many things we could pin this on.
That is true. If he started drinking again, he might bring wife number 2 or wife number 3.
Right? Yeah. So there's so many variables. The poor guy.
One of my favorite details about him is, I'm sure you saw during his confirmation hearings, they had these interviews with him and his wife. They were doing these like cleanup interviews. He was on Fox doing it. I think he did one on Newsmax as well. And it was one of those where
he brought her in. He brought her in to meet with the senators as well. To discourage asking certain questions. He brought her in as a shield, so they'd feel uncomfortable asking certain questions they should have asked.
Right. And she brought up the fact that they pray every morning for the strength and the guidance of our Lord Jesus Christ to help us get through the day and whatever. And it sounds like to me, I don't know, that after when you're the third wife and you realize how you ended up there, that really that's about like sex police. That you're really just kind of like, we pray every morning that he has the strength to come home at night instead of going to those whores. Like it reeked of this kind of like, he had to promise me we would pray every day together, and that I've got the numbers of his 2 best friends, right? And I can call them at any time and go, where is he? You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I mean, look, I think it's great when people find the right person, and abandon their families to be with that right person at the
Yes,
same
that's
time.
true.
It's
Yeah.
beautiful, you know. When you can dump wife number two because you found the one, honestly, I think that's a gift from God, and you should really be as pious in public as possible about it.
You know,
Doesn't have too many Jesus tattoos, does this guy? Not a big Jesus type,
not
not a big
really.
Christ kind of Christian, is he?
Yeah.
He's into the Rambo jacked up Alpha Christ cosplay Jesus with the Deus Vult came from from that was what
Crusades.
Pope Gregory said in the Crusades. It's
Yeah.
literally God wants us to kill Muslims. It's literally
Hmm.
blasphemy for a Christian. It rejects the concept of a new
New
covenant.
Testament, a
These
new
people
covenant, right?
are Yes, these people are not Jesus followers. They are blasphemers, and in this case, a Fox News prompter monkey.
Right. Well, and you'll notice that like during the clips that like his interviews, he does more, I think, staring right into the camera, as breaking of the fourth
Oh
wall
yes.
because of his
Oh
history
yes.
being a host than other
Oh
people who are
yes.
just being interviewed. Right.
I've got media training. I'm Pete Hegseth, and this will help me look very stern on camera while my cabinet is on fire. How many people have resigned today from the DOD, from his inner circle? By the way, man,
Right.
he's losing people goodness. I mean,
Hmm.
but they're just run. I don't know what's going on, but from what we've heard so far, it really does seem to possibly be connected to Doge. And it really does seem like a lot of people were given government jobs and access to top secret classified materials that should
Yeah.
not have
Kind of.
been. And we will never know because Pam Bondi is in charge of cleaning it up. We're never going to know this story until these people
No.
are gone.
Right. Well, and again, unless they feel like they can jettison someone, if they get the clearance from Trump to punt somebody and pull there's a lower chance of that happening this time around, I understand, than last time. Last time you could get rid of somebody like a Mike Flynn fairly early, but now Trump has gone full Roy Cohn in this regard.
Yes.
And yeah, so and by the way, before we even get into the fact that I guess Trump has had two actual friends in his entire life, Jeffrey Epstein and Roy Cohn. Those are the only two people you could actually constitute as like he had like a personal connection with that was borderline parental or brotherly in his whole life. Roy Cohn, who famously, if you'll recall, said when he was asked about, well, what do you think people are going to say about Roy Cohn that he's gay and he died of AIDS? He said, and this is a deathbed quote from Roy Cohn. He said, Roy Cohn, speaking of himself in the third person, like a douchebag, Roy Cohn is not a gay man. Roy Cohn is a straight man who fucks boys. That was a direct quote
Yes.
from Donald Trump's first bestie. And his second
Yes.
bestie, magically gets arrested while he's, and while Trump's president, and all the stuff from the island that supposedly the FBI gathered up and stuff. Where is that, Pam Bondi? So is the Hegseth thing, is the tariff thing all just covered to not release the Epstein files?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, I think, Hal, I hate to say this about Donald Trump, but I think you need to realize that those two little friendships you think he had,
Yeah.
those might have been transactional too, Hal. Those may have been
Sure.
completely transactional relationships as well. I'm not sure they count as friends, those two, but I did enjoy the movie The Apprentice immensely. And in the case of Jeffrey Epstein, look, I mean, we're never going to know, right? I mean, we're never
Yes.
going to know, but there's only been one president in history accused of child rape with Jeffrey Epstein in open court, and it's the same only president in history to be accused of rape by his spouse in
Right.
court documents, and it's the only president in history to have 34 felony convictions against him and an adjudicated rape on his resume as well. So I mean, look, this is how it is. It's not going to get better. It's going to get worse.
Yeah.
It's going to be a lot of comedy. We're going to have a lot of laughs, but a lot of people are going to get hurt in the meantime.
Yep.
And it's going to be really, really important. I think, if you're feeling overwhelmed by the news, don't be afraid to take a break. And if you're feeling like you don't know what to do and you feel helpless, find someone who feels more helpless than you and feel strong for them, because they're going to hurt as many people as they can. I don't know what would be different if Putin and Xi were running our government right now. But between Trump and Musk, it's really hard to tell what's happening here that's not going to benefit Putin and Xi immensely, including the tariffs.
And Hegseth.
We're driving Japan, we're driving South Korea to China with these things.
Yeah,
and Hegseth, of course, yeah. But I think there's things in our fridge, Hal, that might last longer than Pete Hegseth's job. When you've got career right-wing douchebags leaking about him, it seems like they're creating the permission structure for Trump to do something.
Yeah, and what I would argue is that what Hegseth is doing, the chaos in and of itself, is a feature, not a bug, to the Vladimir Putins and the Xi Jinpings of the world. And
exactly.
That no one benefits more from this than they do. And if you wanted to guarantee that didn't happen, Hegseth himself, out of if he had this warfighter ethos and all this kind of stuff, is like, I would never allow myself to be a distraction from the important mission of pushing back on these, our adversaries or something. So I'm stepping down, and I have faith that our people in uniform would do it. Like, you could do that really easily and look like a hero and still do the circuit, probably still end up with your own nightly Fox show. But as he tries to hammer this coward nail further and further into the, Christ's hand, I feel like he just burns that possible exit plan.
Yeah.
Like, that's all he's doing.
Yeah.
And I think
I don't know how Fox can hire him back. I mean, I have it on good authority. There's a quality weatherman job opening up at OAN that could happen.
Yeah, sure.
He can go to Reeves in the middle of Matt Gates' show. And again, Pete Hegseth is very popular among people who can spell OAN. But look, he's not going to last. None of these people are going to last. It's all built on the entire cabinet is built on deviancy. It's built on
it's like blame. It's like he assigns people to everything. Like we know that every job he's ever given to somebody, it's all they came highly recommended. Everybody respects them, and that's a way of it's a way of diverting his own responsibility. You guys said they were great, not me. Fuck that, right? Is the idea. And then if they fuck up, he can cast them off and go, "You guys recommended them. I didn't. I picked them because you guys said," right?
That's it. That's the whole cabinet. Deviant, evil, inexperienced, DEI. All of them.
Yes.
All of them. The only person qualified for their job is Kim Guilfoyle as ambassador to Greece, because that's her favorite musical. As far as the rest of them, no qualifications at all. And
I have a theory
again,
that's...
Don't forget.
Yeah.
Go ahead, please.
I have a theory that started, that Kimberly Guilfoyle became the ambassador to Greece because it was a joke around Trump's household that she would be ambassador of butt stuff. That's a Greek reference, and that's, I mean, Trump thinks the world is like the penthouse letter he has yet to write.
I think you think Donald Trump is more sexually sophisticated than he really is. I don't even know if you would get that joke.
The people around him would. By the way, I want to remind everybody, while I have you here, that your book comes out August 19th.
Oh, yes, it does. Yes. Please, before it's banned in Florida. My book is coming out this summer. Yes.
Yes, Separation of Church and Hate by John Fuglesang. August 19th is coming out. I have already ordered my hardback copy.
It is a book for believers and atheists. It's a book for believers or atheists or agnostics or anybody who's ever going to have to deal with a fundamentalist or a Christian nationalist in their workplace, their family, or their goddamn government. It's all about how to take the Bible back from fundamentalists, fascists, and flock fleecing frauds.
And if I do say so my damn self, I'm buying it mainly for the centerfold of you. I think that's
Thank
what
you very
people
much.
are.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's a lot of people are
the high point of the book.
Yeah, I think they're going to tear it out of the copy in the library, and they're going to get a lot of complaints. But
I hope so. I mean, like the rest of the book, the centerfold is in Braille, so I hope everyone can enjoy it as much as you.
You perv. Only you would manage to find a way to make a centerfold tactile. The filth. So let's go through each of these, and I would love the John Fuglesang take on these folks, because since we've done Hegseth and Pam Bondi, the big rollout of the Epstein files, handing out these binders, right, to all and they wave them in front of him, and then they get attacked by Laura Loomer and all these others for not releasing any new stuff. And Pam Bondi, every time I see her, she looks worse. She's like obviously not sleeping, not eating. This is a stressful job.
Nor should she.
Right.
It well should be for her.
Yeah, no, I'm not upset about it. But
she should be haunted like an Edgar Allan Poe character for the rest of her life. Yes.
Mm-hmm. So, where does her road end? Because I feel like the pressure around MAGA on her to release these files, and none of them seem to realize they're not coming out, because the only stuff that's been held back is the stuff with Trump in it.
Yeah. The point of that whole story was to remind us that they're a cult of amoral obedience, a cult of unmanly amoral obedience.
Right.
They know they're being played. Those guys came out holding those binders, and they were complaining that they were just props without realizing that no, you, the right-wing Nazi influencers holding the props, are the props. And you know how they responded? With continued blind, unmanly obedience. So that's all that Pam Bondi is there to prove to us. I call her Bribe Me Barbie because she is there for one reason. She will take a bribe. And Donald Trump, in hiring her, announced to the entire world that America's top cop will take a bribe to make an investigation go away. So when this is done, and there is a Truth and Reconciliation Committee, which there's gonna need to be, I can't wait for Pam Bondi's resume to get everything she deserves on it. She has already lied about this man Kilmar Garcia, and I mean willfully, like Trump and Vance with the willful racist lies about the Haitian migrants eating pets when they knew that wasn't true, but they just tell the lie anyway. Pam Bondi has the same kind of thing. This thing that John Roberts does not have, this complete indifference to how objective history books will record you and your life. These people just don't care. Donald Trump will hold up a picture that's been doctored of this man's hand with a tattoo he doesn't have. They don't care about the lies. Mitch McConnell's going to die soon. He just got scared. Now he cares. John Roberts cares about his place in the history books. He's not a moral person, just cares about himself.
Yep.
These folks are so selfish, and yet they're not smart enough to care about how they'll look in the history books. Pam Bondi has lied that Kilmar Abrego Garcia is a gang member, that he was that his deportation was legal, that his deportation was a deportation. If you are sending someone without due process to an overseas prison, that's
a kidnapping.
Not deportation. That is a kidnapping. That is a renditioning. That is human trafficking. The media's got to stop using the D word when it's not the goddamn D word. This guy had temporary protected status. What Trump did was illegal. Trump is the illegal. Pam Bondi is the illegal in this equation. And I want to find time to make this funnier, Hal, but I'm still like in the place where, look, we have Howard Lutnick and Caroline Levitt for comedy. Let's leave it at that. But I will say this. A Chicago Bulls hoodie makes Kilmar Garcia a gang member the same way a shiny gold cross makes Pam Bondi a Christ follower.
Right. Yeah. Not at all.
Doesn't.
Right.
Not at all.
And I have to say, like, this seems like they want to drag this out as much as possible. And he may be at the, on the downslope of this political scandal that they're dealing with, that they have not released these files. I think, like Pam Bondi and all these folks, the more attention, or even Homan. Okay, so Homan, who there's a Disney character in like every 1940s Disney character that's like the deputy sheriff in Robin Hood or something like that, who looks exactly like Paul Homan. You know exactly who I'm talking about in all those movies. And Homan is very happy that the story is about this, because there never were and there never will be the number of people in this country illegally that he says there are, and therefore there will never be the mass deportations he promised and was sure were happening.
Oh, but that's not the reason. You know that's not the reason. They can't ever deport the number of people they promised to deport, because they know our economy would collapse. It's the beautiful hypocrisy we all get to be a part of. These guys will
Mar-a-Lago would
never,
be
ever...
understaffed. That's for damn sure.
Trump admitted it last week. He said he's not going to deport workers in the agricultural industry, because if you deported all of the illegal immigrants, a salad would cost $75. Now, I realize MAGA voters don't eat a lot of salads.
Right.
But having said that, this is what props our economy up. And this is how the Democratic Party has failed, because they will never tell the truth. Go ahead.
Look, French fries are kind of salad, okay? They're a vegetable. They're in a pile. And sometimes they have other stuff on them, like chili. That's a form of dressing. Cheese.
Listen, I believe in that. I believe in that. I believe in put enough toppings on your pizza that it counts as a salad in your heart. That's what I tell everybody.
Guy. So Homan, I think, is quite happy that the Garcia story is eating up a lot of time, not because you and I will be impacted by these things or will be upset by them, but frankly because they made a bunch of promises they cannot carry out. And we're not going to get mad about that. I'm not going to be mad if they can't scoop up women and children and families that are working here.
But neither's MAGA. Neither's MAGA. That's why they're doing all this. The point I was going to make before, if they cared, if they really meant it, and we got to say this all the time to our conservative loved ones because the Democrats won't say it, the media won't say it. If they actually cared about ending undocumented immigration, they would start locking up the employers who do all the hiring.
Yes.
We have people who cross the border for one reason. There is a gigantic help wanted sign placed by white people at our southern border, and there's no wall you can build that's big enough to hide the help wanted sign. They come here because of white people giving out jobs, and any politician who does not want to go after the white people giving out jobs is not serious about stopping border crossings. This is not even bringing up the fact the majority of people who are here illegally overstay their visas. They don't cross the border. But Donald Trump is an illegal. He has hired them in 2 different centuries because he didn't want to pay an American worker a living wage. Polish illegal immigrants built that hideous feces tower of his over on Fifth Avenue here in New York. So they don't mean it. They don't care about abortion. If they cared about abortion, they want to stop abortion, they'd be behind birth control. They'd be behind sex ed in schools. They don't care. And they don't care about immigration. That's why you're going to see just enough cruelty theater, Mr. Sparks, to satisfy the bloodlust of the revoltingly fake Christians. 32% of us who put him into office, they are going to have just enough cruelty. They love Abrego Garcia because we're fighting about this and ignoring everything else, like what they're doing to Mahmoud Khalil. And they're counting on the fact that they believe most Americans are too racist to care, and most Democrats are too cowardly to say something about it. I'm happy to see a lot of Democrats proving them wrong so far.
Yeah, I do personally think that that they relish this kind of cruelty. I know Homan does. I know Hegseth, with his bullshit faux machismo nonsense. I think Pam Bondi with her calling
men
Trump
love it.
Presidente. She always calls him president instead of Mr. President because he obviously brought up how come they call him El Presidente in other countries, but I'm Mr. President. My name's Mr. Trump. Therefore, you should call me
I'll
President.
go all the way, and I'll call him Pinochet. We're disappearing people now. Just call him Pinochet and go all the way with it.
So, but I do think, and I'm sure you've seen this a bit too, in the right-wing circles, they're getting a little antsy. They're getting a little, like, some of them, whatever their issue is, right? They're all
the capitalists are done. Capitalists are done with this guy.
But even then, even the immigration folks, they're happy to, they don't care about Garcia. They're happy to fight this fight, and they're almost glad about that it's happening because they think it makes Dems look bad or we're supporting MS-13. And they tell that story. But they're still at the same time, they're on a parallel track. They're all going, why in the world, aren't there these busloads of people, hundreds of thousands? We were promised from day one. We're almost at the end of the 100 days, my friend. And still, there are no mass deportations. Even the planes that he's bragging about or they fucked around with have 160 people on them.
They don't care, Hal. They don't care that he lied about the wall. They don't care that he lied about the wall. They want to see brown people and liberals upset. That's what they voted for. They want to see brown people, educated people,
but I think they were promised
people,
herds
and
of
liberals
a lot.
upset.
I think they were promised a much bigger number, though, and I think you're seeing they do
He'll
want to
never
see
be
brown people hurt.
enough. He'll never be racist enough for the racists to put him in office. But he's going to be plenty racist. And again, he's done with these people. He's done with them. He owes them nothing. He never cared about them in the first place.
Right. Yeah, I guess that's the point.
And by the way, to Tom Homan, ICE doesn't have the space anymore. ICE is a private company. ICE cannot accommodate this many millions of people. That's why we're now paying taxpayer dollars to put innocent people in an El Salvadoran gulag. We have military in El Salvador, by the way, because I've done stand-up in El Salvador for the U.S. military. You know why we have military there? The drug war. They're still there from the 80s for the drug war. They're living in hotels. That's where I did stand-up, in a hotel by the pool, because we have military bases down there. So, I mean, we could do it if we wanted to. But this is what they did, and the MAGA voters, they're not going to care that it's not going to be 11 million. They didn't care that he lied about the wall. They didn't care when there was no WMDs in Iraq.
See, I
they
think
reelected Bush after that. I don't care.
I'll push back on. I'll push back on part of that with you, because I think you're right about
some of them will. Yes, some will, but most don't care.
Right, but they're starting to break in a bunch of these shows where, and it's different than if they're just like, I wish this was blah blah blah. Like, they're getting oddly. There's that guy, Peanut Butter Dickhead, the Patrick Bet David guy, who's kind of been one of these rising podcasts in it, and he has two guys on his show. One who desperately wants to support Trump all the time, but is starting to crack a little bit, and the other one who doesn't. He's basically Alex Jonesing his way through things. And that guy, he goes beet red, gets a vein in his forehead whenever he brings up the fact that there aren't enough people being deported, and where are the Epstein files? And there used to be just one of those guys, or somebody would bring it up, and then you kind of never see him again on these shows. They'd be sidelined, right? They'd be the guy that didn't show up on the panel anymore. Now, every one of these shows has one, and then one of the other guys is starting to lean his way, like that All In, or not All In, the podcast that Megyn Kelly has on all the time. It's sort of like those four dudes that she brings on. It used to be that all four of them were like, go team, go, right? And now two of them are like, what the fuck, right? And that's got to be indicative of some kind of shift that they're seeing in their audience, right?
It's a party of selfishness. That is their creed. John Kenneth Galbraith called it in 1967. The modern conservative is engaged in one of mankind's oldest and best funded pursuits. I'm paraphrasing, but that is the search for a superior moral justification for selfishness. That's it. The creed is selfishness. It's a cult of selfish bastards, and they worship selfish narcissist bastards. Donald Trump didn't get the Christians on his side by saying, I promise to do all the things Jesus tells us to do. Right. They hate the things Jesus tells us to do. He got in charge by promising them power and access. That's all it's about. It's the cult and the creed of me, 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 me.
He was
They're all
golfing
selfish
during
bastards.
Easter.
They're all... I mean, you know that these people, Rand Paul and Marco Rubio and Lindsey Graham, despise Donald Trump, and they kiss his ring and lick his boots because they are completely selfish as well. And I love that we sit around expecting a room full of narcissistic fiends to work together in harmony and not turn on each other when things get bad. Baby, it's going to be beautiful. It's going to be 3.5 years of watching these people turn on each other and seeing who gets sent away to Rudy Giuliani Island and who gets something worse. Right. But listen, remember, no matter how bad it gets, no matter how awful and evil, no matter how outraged we are, don't forget to stop and smell the train wreck. There's going to be so much comedy of evil people. The one saving grace of America, Hal, we've talked about this, is that our fascists are always too fucking stupid. Yeah, the stupid is always greater than the evil. Yeah, I call them dim shady. They're always too dumb to be effective fascists. The fascism has turned up to 9, but the dumb's turned up to 11. And those 2 degrees have saved us in the last couple of Republican
presidents. And they are continuing to. So you look at, one of the things that Hegseth says about the guys that got kicked out, all of whom, by the way, he brought in personally, and he liked, especially Dan Caldwell, who he used to have on Fox all the time. They were co-chairs of the, or both worked at the Concerned Veterans for America, all that shit.
They stole, Hegseth embezzled from Concerned Veterans for America. The fact that he didn't go to jail for that is astonishing.
Exactly. And the fact that he was able to bring in his co-conspirators, in on that. So, but the one dude who's turning on him and wrote that Politico piece is this guy, John Ulyott. And Ulyott was, I mean, like that story, like, you want to talk about like an example of how fucked up Hegseth's tenure at the SecDef has been already. So this is the guy who removed Jackie Robinson's website from the DOJ. Oh, yeah. That's the guy who did it.
He's not a good guy.
Sign. No, he's fucking terrible. He's a terrible human being.
He's a horrible man. Horrible
and so
man. Yes.
He wants to do more of what Trump says he wants and more of what Hegseth wants. This guy's mad because
this guy he tried to remove Jackie Robinson from the movie 42, which is very difficult to do, but he tried it.
Right. Yeah. And I think he used grok. but Olyat, right? Olyat is mad at Hegseth for not being more terrible, not because he doesn't want to, but because he's ineffective and a time waster and has a bunch of unforced errors. Not because he's like, you're not going through with it. You don't have the guts to follow through. He doesn't question the guts of Hegseth, but his intellect and his capability and he considers him a fuck up. And then he was called a hoaxer and a leaker by Hegseth yesterday. And this dude carried water for him. He quit. He didn't get fired.
Oh yeah.
He quit.
Well, there's differing opinions on that. The Pentagon is saying that he was fired, but it's great to see little Petey bearing false witness on Easter Sunday, isn't it?
Easter.
Yeah. Let me tell you something. Here's my crazy theory. This guy doesn't put out this statement without Kathleen Wiles knowing about it.
Oh, yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Right. Or Susie Wiles, you mean?
He doesn't. I'm sorry, Susie Wiles. Kathleen Wiles. Sorry, I confused my. He doesn't put out this statement without Susie Wiles knowing about it. What
I
that
agree.
statement was building the permission structure to get Hegseth out of there. And let me tell you, people, we have to find a way to finish building that time machine so we can get Pete Hegseth fired even sooner.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think we can. Let's try and get him fired in March, Al. We can probably do it if we get the time machine finished.
Right? Yeah. Like we'll just they're making a lot of progress at CERN. Maybe we'll have a second Mandela effect, and it will be the Hegseth effect.
Guys, please enjoy these Republicans defending Pete Hegseth for the next few weeks. Please enjoy them defending him. These monsters as they defend RFK Jr.
Shit at the end of the day.
Yeah, right. Enjoy their on the record statements defending what RFK Jr. is doing for and happy measles to all. Like, listen, these people sold their souls because they were too selfish to do the right thing. So they all became elite Stephanics, and now they get to own it. And the worst thing we can do is call this Trump's tariffs. No, it's Republican tariffs. It's the Republican Party deportations. It's Republican Party crimes. They're all behind it. Bush and Cheney took all the blame for their crimes. Let's not let Trump get all the blame for his very willing accomplices, man. They get to defend this for the next 3 years.
Yeah, and or however long before he punts them to the side. So this goes to a question. This may be something that you've even brought up in your book, which I can't wait to read August 19th when it comes out and my hard copy gets in the mail. That there is an Ayn Randian like rail that parallels their faux Christianity rail that's always been there, and they're absolutely divergent. They do not operate in parallel at all. As a matter of fact, her words, Ayn Rand said that anybody who believes, Christian doctrine or Christian ideas, especially the ideas about Christ's teachings about altruism, are, and I quote, retarded. Her word.
Yes.
Mentally retarded, and specifically.
She's exactly the kind of person morally who should use that word. Go on.
Right. And so my feeling is that I've always said that one of my frustrations with Trump and his ilk is that they can't even do selfish right. That they are just selfish enough to be a fuck up, but not selfish enough to be like, it's turning out maybe seemingly that Amy Coney Barrett is more selfish than they are because she's realized she was sent there to do the abortion thing. She did it. And now she's got a lifetime appointment. So she can do whatever the fuck she wants. And it's about her now. This is her time on the mound. And so she gets to... Yeah, but I mean, she doesn't have to side with him like a sycophant like she was expected to.
No, she doesn't. She doesn't.
But
let's not fall into thinking that she's going to be some David Souter surprise. She hates
No.
plenty.
It will only work. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, it will, like, she will do stuff that she thinks is in line with what her legacy is, not what Trump's is.
Right.
And
correct. Yeah, they're all selfish.
Right. And that level of selfishness can be our salvation in some cases, like it was with Tillerson, I would argue, or other people were like, I'm not going to let you fuck up what I'm trying to do here, buddy. Whereas, Trump surrounded himself with sycophants because of that very thing, that people who were worried about their own legacy, which I think Marco Rubio kind of is. And that's
desperately.
Yes. He wants
and
to
it's
have
already
a future.
too late. It's already too late. His future is being a lobbyist. That's it. He will be a lobbyist for the rest of his life with the secret security detail.
That's right.
If he avoids prison.
And that
because,
is
Marco Rubio has lied about Kilmar Garcia as brazenly as Trump and Pam Bondi have lied about.
They lied in the signal
Marco
chat.
Rubio is lying. He's lying for a man he hates.
Yes.
Yeah,
so
right.
the signal chat, the signal chat issue when Goldberg was in it, the first one, was just a problematic political scandal of a reporter being in on deliberative conversations between people in the administration until Pete Hegseth put in strike details. From that point on, it became a criminal act. He committed a criminal act, and everybody who stayed in that chat participated in that criminal act going forward because he put them on the spot. And they've all lied about it.
By the way, they had it set to delete feature as well to destroy any trace of it. They were violating the law because they didn't want any inconvenient Freedom of Information Act requests about what they were planning down the road. So yeah, it's illegal.
Hashtag most transparent fucking administration in history, whatever that bullshit is.
Oh, Hal, the Ken Burns movie about Donald Trump is going to be 75 hours long.
Oh my God. Jesus Christ. All the cascading shots of his nunt that we would have to watch floating back and forth. So the second chat, he apparently, and this is all going to come out, it's coming out. It came out yesterday, and then it will roll out. I'm sure more details to come. He posted the exact same strike details at the exact same time in the exact same chat. Now, either Pete Hegseth got an A in typing class, or this motherfucker has his computer that has his personal shit and his Defense Department shit on it at the same goddamn time, and he is using a secret server a signal which has servers in Russia and in China that they bounce shit through. On the same fucking device, and all the shit he's saying, none of it's under oath. Everything he has said in the press, as bullish and whatever it is, none of it has been under oath, and that's got to be the next step. Do you think it happens? Do you think they're going to call him in for an under oath statement now?
No, I do not. No, they will fire him. They don't want anyone under oath. Are you kidding me? They don't want anybody under oath ever, this administration. You think Pam Bondi wants anyone from this White House to ever be under oath? If crimes are revealed, Pam Bondi will be punished for revealing them. They don't want anybody under oath. When Donald Trump leaves office is when they're all going to be under oath. Marco Rubio. Sorry. Just think about it, folks. Think about it light some candles and get in the bath and think about Donald Trump, Marco Rubio, Pam Bondi. Think about all of them. J.D. Vance having to testify under oath, under penalty of perjury. You don't need Viagra, kids.
For real, do you think
they're never going to let him do it?
Hegseth gets bounced before he testifies.
Yes.
So that's we're on a time scale because he's got an appropriations hearing that he has to do perfunctory as the as SecDef at some point in the next.
But this is
June
why it's
is
so
the latest.
Important. But this is why it's so important for everybody to be healthy. Now is the time, folks. I'm not saying be sober and be a monk. I'm saying cut back on the partying and the drinking and cut back on the meat, the wheat, the dairy. Be healthy to live a long time because you deserve to be alive when all the facts about all these people come to jail post-year 2028. You deserve to be alive for Donald Trump's funeral. You deserve to be alive for all of the testimony and hearings that are going to happen. You deserve to be alive and healthy to watch all of these people grovel like General Flynn did, saying, I'm so sorry I did the things I did. They're all going to do it, man. They're all going to grovel because I have to believe that this time America's going to take care of its rat problem. The Confederacy ended. We didn't take care of the rats. Segregation. Okay, no penalty. You guys were dicks for 100 years, but it's fine now. Iran-Contra, Hal. Iran-Contra, nobody paid a price. Who got fired for lying us into war in Iraq? Nobody. I mean, Nixon walks away clean. So when Pelosi and Schumer come in 2006, taking over the Congress, the first thing they said about Bush post-Iraq war is impeachment is off the table. It's time for some historic accountability because if we don't stop the empire, it will come back as the first order. They keep proving it over and over again. What we've seen even from Harvard, if you punch the bully back in the face,
Yeah.
it won't always work out, but the bully, half the time at least, will back down.
Right.
I am ready for history to start pushing these bullies in the face. You had mentioned the scriptural thing. I've come to believe that in our history of this country, in the world of religion, there's been Christians and there's been Christ followers, and they're not always the same. The Christians waged the Crusades. The Christ followers, like St. Francis, opposed the war. The Christians did the slavery. The Christians were like Columbus, mutilating and colonizing. The Christ followers, like Columbus's priest, Father Bartolomeo de las Casas, protested. And the first act of protest by a white person in this hemisphere was Columbus's own priest protesting how he treated the people. Christians did slavery. Christ followers, like the abolitionists and the Quakers and Harriet Tubman, they fought it. Christians pushed segregation. It was the Christ followers in the civil rights movement and their allies who brought it down. Christians pushed the homophobia. It was the Christ followers and their allies who brought that down and convinced their grandparents over the dinner table to not be homophobes anymore. Christians exploited labor. Christians created horrible conditions for working people. Christ followers like Dorothy Day and Catholic Charities and people who read the Jesus parts fought for better conditions for working people. The whole history of this country has been Christ followers and their allies beating back the batshit fucking fake Christians. It's the whole history of America. And so some of the best Christ followers I've known have not been Christian, and some of the most godless heathens I've known have called themselves Christian.
Right.
But there's too many good people, as you know, Mr. Sparks. And I said back at Christmas time when we were all depressed and that circular Democratic firing squad we had to live with through the entire fall, I was like, by Valentine's Day, the Democratic Civil War will start to go away, and by Easter Sunday, the entire world will have begun to coalesce on the same side.
Yep.
And we're seeing it. They can't stop dropping the ball. They can't stop fucking up. And when telling the truth about Donald Trump is better for ratings, eyeballs, and clicks than playing dumb about it, then you'll see the press start to do their job and hold the powerful accountable. But only when it's better for ratings.
Right. Well, and also there will be holdouts to that, as we've seen lately. They've been getting a little wobbly kneed. If you watch, everybody's going on Hannity's show right now to run interference for their problem. Bondi, Homan's been on there. I have no doubt Hegseth will be on there eventually. You remember when they used to send everybody to him or Tucker to do the apology tour, like Matt Gaetz?
Don't leave out Elon, by the way. They're never going to send Elon to anybody who would ask a tough follow-up question. Elon is as helpless as the rest of these homunculoid Nazis when it comes to speaking to an objective reporter. It's all propaganda. They've all got to have a foot massage. And that's why they've got to be put under oath, including First Lady Musk, because you can tell how terrified they are of Elon because they won't send him to anybody tougher than Larry Kudlow.
Right. And somebody who has stock in Tesla who desperately wants the price to go back up.
You're right.
Right?
Yeah. Well,
honestly.
Hey, it may be the Tesla stockholders that save our nation. So let's our thoughts and prayers. But you're exactly. They called him down to Texas 3 weeks ago for a meeting. I mean, they are not happy about this.
Oh yeah,
you can't give Teslas away in Germany right now. This guy has dropped the ball.
Yep, and like the all hands on deck aspect of the his meeting or whatever. Well, you never have those if things are going well. There's never an all hands on deck. Like nobody's called up that way, and I thought we'd barbecue on deck today. It's so sunny out. Like it's terrible. So again,
Elon, he's a debit to his race.
And Hegseth had a similar all hands on deck with his Pentagon staff like early last week before and around the firings. You get different stories coming out of there, but is there I think Homan's the guy who is the safest, honestly, because Trump would have to admit that their mass deportation promises have been a failure and that there's nothing coming and that it's not going to work out. And he just can't, because if he ran on one thing in particular, it was the racist, xenophobic panic of every maggot, in every swing state. Right? That's what it was. They're going to trans our kids and the Mexicans are going to help do it. MS-13 is going to trans our kids with butcher knives. Like that's basically.
And the paper straws, Hal. Only about the paper straws are going to
That's true. Well, look. Yes. Look, if I know that's the reason you were on the fence about voting for him this time, and thank God I was able to talk you off that cliff.
Listen, what can I say? I'm a very fragile, weak man, and transitioning to paper straws scares me. Okay, I'm willing
Well, they
to
get
have
all
wildlife
soggy.
suffer horribly.
And look, they get all
It's
soggy.
horrible. It's horrible.
And that's something that's not just happening to you. That's happening to America. Okay.
Real men aren't bothered by single-use plastic, and real men are terrified of making a transition to responsible paper straws because real men are little bitches. I'm sorry, I interrupted. Go on, please.
No, that's okay. I'm as a lifelong user of single-use petroleum products. I am completely fine with that. But what I will say is that there seems to be, okay, and this goes to sort of the capitalist nature of things. And I want to remind everybody, by the way, John and I are doing a show this weekend together called Not the White House Correspondents' Dinner. Tickets are available at meathook.live. Sorry.
Meathook.live.
MEET.
Meathook.live
slash not. N-O-T.
Trey Crowder, the liberal redneck, will be joining us for this show. Alonzo Bowden of Last
Boozler.
Comic Standing. Elaine Boozler, Allison Gill of Muller, She Wrote in the Daily Beans, Brooklyn Dad Defiant, our good buddy's going to be there. Mr. Glenn Kirshner is delivering a speech. Have you heard Glenn Kirshner do stand-up? How? His Chris Walken is a fucking riot. His Chris Walken is so funny, Hal. You're on the floor when you hear his Walken. He's very funny
his
people.
Nicholson is like where he does that dialogue between the two of them, where if they'd have been cast in A Few Good Men.
Nicholson. He does
he
does the voice down here like Jack is now. Yeah, he nails it. He's so funny. You guys are going to love this side of him.
So that's this weekend.
And so many great performers. I'm thrilled about it. Yes, I'm thrilled you're doing this. And Elaine Boozler, Stephanie Miller's going to be a part of this. A lot of great comics and a lot of great people. So thanks, Al.
Absolutely. You and I like whip this thing into shape, and I'm still hell bent right after this is over for us to go on the road with our own. I feel like they should be called like clown hall meetings or something.
Hall meetings.
You know what I mean?
I still like the We Told You show. I think that's a good tour name.
Yeah, I think that's good. Yeah, We Told You show is awesome. So, and more than likely that's what's going to be it. But we'll call the question and answer period our clown hall meeting.
Very nice. I like it. Okay.
Yeah, we're building a structure for it. But
tickets will be on sale by the time this segment ends. Go on, please.
That's right. And I want to remind everybody, your book is for order, or like pre-sale. You can get it on Amazon or Simon & Schuster's site. You can pre-order it now.
You don't need to go to Amazon. You can go to your local bookstore and pre-order
That's right.
it there, or go to
you
a
go to
small
Pal
independent
Books.
book-selling website. You don't need to go to a big old place sending Katy Perry into space, folks. There's other evil people you can buy the book from.
So I have to say that I feel like the fight between Bezos and Musk is like watching Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla. Like I recognize one of them will probably still stomp on us, but the chances are higher that the other one means to do it and is intending to do it, whereas the other one just too stupid to know he's stepping. And you root for Godzilla in that situation at the same time because you're hoping he destroys the other one. And in that case,
at this point,
that's what's happening.
No, my favorite kind of civil war, Hal, at this point is Confederate versus Confederate. That's what I'm here for.
Yeah, maggot on maggot crime is some of the best stuff. So
get ready for a lot of it.
Yes, exactly. So I will see you this
weekend,
virtually this weekend, and then in the very near future, because I want to bring in members of our family like Boston Brian and Texas Paul and others as we go out on tour and have them come up on stage with us as well.
Great.
Bring in some of the Mighty as well when we're out and about because they come to the show that I've done. Have Brian Karam join us at different times.
Yes.
Like that kind of stuff I think would be so important, and we need to go to the red states. We need to go to
absolutely.
We got to go in. We cannot. We got to spend the next year standing in the breach. We got to stand up for what we believe and what we want and what we believe is right. And that's that. Anyway, so Tara Dublin is waiting in the wings, and she's on next. John, thank you for being on with me. Please come on again. Maybe we do a special hello later this week or something, just to remind everybody about tickets.
Reach out to my parole officer, and I'll be here anytime you'll have me.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they assigned you to this or whatever. And by the way, hold on. I will mark your card as soon as you go. I'm supposed to do that.
I appreciate that. Thank you. You have to do that. Yeah.
Hey, you know me. I'll always be your alibi, my friend.
Hey, listen, also, I get a grant if this is educational, so I need you to sign that for him, too. Guys, thank you so much for having me. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, John. Okay, cheers.
Peace.
There he goes.
Bye-bye.
Ladies and gentlemen. And then joining us, the lovely and talented, hold on, let me ISO her and solo her out so I see where she is. And bring in our guest. There she is. Tara Dublin, who does indeed rock, is right there on the show. And John Fuglesang, thanks for being with us, brother. Okay, he dropped that. I'll cut him off there. And then can we hear you okay? Can you check for me? Oh, there he came back in. Hold on. He's back in. Oh, he's not back in. Oh, it's okay. I don't hear you for some reason. Hold on. We will see why that is. Hold on. I will fix this. Well, I got you. I'll make it happen. Don't worry. I'll bring you in here. Okay. So add, let's see, back. There you go. Solo. And this should do it. Sign, return to green room. Back there, soloing. There she is. I see her again. And I don't know why. Hold on. It's going to be weird. Is your mic muted on your side? Because I don't hear you at all. I don't see it. Don't audio. Maybe. Yeah, I'm not getting. She's gonna pop back in. Might be the old second guest curse that happens. Okay, there's a sound that says she's in here, and I bet when she.
Let's try this.
Hey.
Hey, hi.
There you go.
How are we? Are we here? Are we happening? Is it going? Are we here?
We are. It's fantastic, and we hear you, and it's great, and it's wonderful, and there you go, and wonderful.
Thanks. Hey, by the way, thanks for setting me up already on a Monday morning, having to follow John Fuglesang. Thanks so much. You think your job is hard? People in the chat, you don't have to follow John Fuglesang. So,
right.
Hey, it's I'll do my best though. I'll do my best. He is the command of the English language that John Fuglesang has is just, it's beyond I think I'm fairly good at the wordsmithing, but he makes me feel like I just learned English like a week and a half ago because just the way he's just so smart, just like you, and just like the way he puts it together. But I love the way, and because he's so educated in the ways of, like, 'cause I'm not the Bible scholar, he is. And so like the way he has the best words. Let's just say that. John Fuglesang, and we're just so lucky to have him in the cavalcade of comedic geniuses that comprises the sexy liberal.
I've told him many times that if his genius became evil, we would be in a very, very bad place. Like he and I both recognize that we have a responsibility to only use our superpowers for good.
We're good. Always. That's what I try to do. That's what we all try to do here.
And Nicole says in the chat room, says, Tara, you're in your own lane. And that's exactly right. You carve your own path.
I do.
You're great on your own.
I do.
You don't have to compare yourself to anybody else. That's the point. Right.
That's the point. And I do have a tattoo on my foot that in Italian. It says scrivo la mia propria storia, which is I write my own story.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. Hey, so let's hit this hard. By the way, it is my birthday week. My birthday is on this coming Saturday. We face a birthday. I'm going to be having a birthday on Saturday, and there's a lot that's going to happen between now and then.
You think?
Aside from getting to be here with you. I mean, we have my show, The Tara Show, tomorrow and Thursday. On Friday, I'm going to hang out with our friend Dino Badela on his show. But Wednesday, I have to go to court. I have to go to traffic court on Wednesday. I got a red light ticket. But in my own defense, I was not speeding, as Leadfoot Dublin is wont to do, by the way. Was not speeding. What it was. And for people who don't know, the worst drivers in the United States of America live in Portland, Oregon. Do not try to fight me on this. They don't know how to merge. They have no sense of urgency. They're overly polite and overly cautious, and it causes accidents and traffic backups, and it's terrible. And I'm from Jersey, where they taught us the zipper merge the first day of driver's ed, and I don't know why they don't. Anyway, so I was driving on Northeast Sandy Boulevard in Portland, Oregon, and it was a rare day when the sun was shining, which means nobody is driving because they're like, fireball in the sky, cannot see. And on my summons, you can see I'm wearing my sunglasses. The visor is at an angle because I was driving as the sun was in my face and got caught sort of in this line of traffic. and the light was yellow and I'm still stuck in the intersection, and it's either I continue and run a red light or I sit
Sure.
in the intersection. So the Sophie's choice at that
Sure.
moment is to continue rather than
Okay.
sit. And I would posit if there was a police officer nearby, I would not have been pulled over because it was about clearing the intersection in the moment when I couldn't see the light. And perhaps the judge won't make me pay the full $270 for the ticket, and perhaps we'll reduce it. And so instead of trying to instead of just, first of all, that's a lot of money towards the end of the month when rent is due soon. And then also it's one of the, I'll take responsibility when I screw up. I will not try to lie and say I didn't do something that I did not mean to do it. I was not intentionally trying to beat the light. It was not any of that. And I was going the speed limit and all of the good
You do
girl
realize
things
you're not
that
in court
I try
right
to
now.
be a good citizen.
I understand that. You do realize you're not
I
in
know.
court
I'm
right
just
now.
telling the kids in the chat. I know. I'm trying it out though.
I don't think it's going to work.
Because it is the truth.
As your lawyer, I advise you to just plead the fifth.
I can't, because I have the truth on my side, and that's this truth. It will be
Everybody
up to the
thinks
judge
that
to
in
believe my
traffic
truth.
court.
Here's what I've been told though, that if you just showing up will make the judge be like, oh well, you made the effort and came down here, we'll reduce it.
Yeah, in its own way, it's like a citizenship test, right? To make sure that you're not, that you still want to be a productive member of society. And since you live in Portland, I think they probably set up the traffic light cams just so they can do that on everybody who lives in Portland.
Right.
All right, let's see which of these assholes rolls in here and actually wants to participate in society again. Now, let's.
There's like 4 police officers that work in Portland. No, that's not true. The police actually in Portland, I want to say, yes. April 5th, we had our first protest. And then this last Saturday, we had another protest. And it was fantastic and wonderful and peaceful, fully peaceful, as we took to the streets. And the police presence was very pleasant. They were pro-protest. And they were... they encouraged and they told us to be safe, and they were helpful and good and not trying to start beefs with us. And I've seen some video of police in other cities trying to not let the protesters go where they wanted, but here in Portland it was all cool.
Again, most of the protests had marching directions, had planned them, had gotten all their proper permits and all that kind of stuff. And the idea that somebody's going to split off and start pulling whatever out of their bags. What was it that they used to bring everywhere? Hold on, and
when they get caught, they say, "No, this is just soup for my family," and then they start throwing it at our cops.
Yeah, bags of soup.
Big bags of soup, and they lay it on the ground, and they.
Right. So
God.
That was from
I'm
a
gonna
Chicago.
have to bring a bag of soup next time.
Well, bags of soup. There were people throwing soup cans in Chicago at one point. During the George Floyd riots when Trump was president. And apparently he thinks that's now the standard by which everyone protests, that everyone brings giant bags of soup.
And we also are all paid $100 million apiece by George Soros.
That's right. Yeah.
To protest. Every last one of us.
I think my check might be in the mail right now. So obviously the big breaking story, and we'll get to these, is the Hegseth story, which initially, again, they felt like they had gotten over the hump with. It was terrible and stupid, and I would argue that up until Hegseth was dumb enough to put actual flight times and what planes were in the air and when they were leaving and when they would arrive, that which is an attack plan. Once he put that in there, that's when it became criminal. That's when it became a problem, because it was classified, top secret information in a non-classified setting, shared openly and the like, which could have endangered our troops. Because let me tell you, if any of that intel had been available to any of the people that were running the anti-aircraft batteries that are in the Houthi territories, which are significant, they could have shot down. They've shot at our planes before. They've shot down drones before. If they know when the planes are coming, they could shoot them out of the sky. So that's why all battle plans are top secret, especially while they're being carried out, and even after they've been successfully carried out, in case you need to do it again. The other thing is,
I feel so secure. I feel liberated and secure and great and safe. Don't you?
So they thought he got past it. They really thought this was over. Trump was treating it like old news. They had managed to somehow slip by in their mind of just making this play out in the press, and Hegseth has not had to go before a committee in the Senate or the House, whereas Tulsi Gabbard and his CIA
John
director
Ratfuck.
did. Yeah, Ratfuck had to do that. But Hegseth and Waltz, the guys who were responsible, have not had to sit in front of Congress. Now I am increasingly of the thought that they will have to.
Yeah, no, they're going to have to. They're going to have to go. If at the bare minimum, they should be in front of the Senate Intelligence Committee already, right? And they should absolutely also be in front of Homeland Security and all of those things. I mean, one time is a mistake. One time, I mean, it was bad enough, right? You invited a reporter into your Signal chat because you thought they were somebody else from Fox News. And then you make us less safe every time you leave your home because you're stumbling drunk everywhere. Punch drunk Pete Kegstand is a thrice married, wife beating Christian nationalist alcoholic, is what he is, and egregiously underqualified for this role. I mean, you can stay on Fox and be a bully. That's your lane. You know, if I have a lane, Pete Hegseth's lane is being a bully on Fox News. That's his lane.
Right.
And that's where he belongs. And I have no problem with him being there. I have a problem with him impacting our national security and continuing to add the wrong people to his Signal chats. And they shouldn't be having these Signal chats in the first place.
Well,
so
that's the question. Okay, so the first one, I want to make something very clear in that in terms of the conversation that they were having, the issue was not that Goldberg was even added accidentally on purpose or on purpose by anybody. Like, as far as it being a scandal, it was meaningless until such time as Hegseth posted classified information in the chat, which, by the way, Goldberg could have never known he was going to do. Nobody else in the chat, unless they were in on it with him, and I don't know that there's any evidence that Tulsi Gabbard was saying, hey, don't forget to post the flight times and the launch patterns of our planes, right? Like, nobody did that. And then he did it in that chat. Okay, so at that point, again, everybody who's participating in that chat is now, if they're called in front of the Congress, they can either lie or admit they took part in a crime that they didn't shut down after the fact. They didn't say, there are things that are so secret and so important that if anybody breaches them, they go, everybody put your fucking phones down and step away. Like, we are not going any further with this. This is not secure. It's not a secure environment. We're going to pick this conversation up in a secure environment. If it had been isolated to that one moment, I feel like they think they could have dodged it. And then we find out there's a second one called Defense Team Huddle. And his wife is in the chat. Now, his brother, he got him a sweet position at the DOD. He got his lawyer assigned to a place at the Pentagon, even though it's still his personal lawyer, which I don't know why we can have both jobs. Remember that whole thing about, like, all these government workers are also working 2 jobs, according to Trump? Well, apparently that applies to Pete Hegseth, lawyer. Maybe that's where he got the idea from. But
every accusation is a confession.
Right. It's amazing.
They always tell on themselves over and over and over. Hey, look how unqualified we are. Let us continue to display every time how underqualified we are. It's egregious. It's disgusting.
And again, so the question I have, and this is, I'm sure, for the chat room, and I'm curious how those guys feel about it, and yourself, Tara, as well. By the way, author of The Sound of Settling, purchase it now at TaraDublinRocks.com, and the host of The Tara Show, Tuesdays and Thursdays at 11 a.m. Pacific time. Did I get it right? It
is
11 a.m. Pacific?
Yes, 11 Pacific time, 2 on the eastern coast.
Yes, they'll work out the math themselves. Unless they're in Arizona and they fuck off with daylight savings.
Right. With myself and the wonderful Tara Devlin. We are not the same person, but we might.
That's right.
Be. Anyway.
Well, I've never seen you in the same room.
The question you have for
I don't
me,
buy anything online. So the question I have at this point is that we were talking to John Fuglesang in the last hour, and we're of the belief that there are 2 wicks have been lit, and it is a jump ball as to which one is shorter. And one is Pete Hegseth has to testify in front of Congress. Pete Hegseth gets fired. And those 2 wicks have been lit this weekend, if not a week ago, when Caldwell was fired and Selnick was fired and Olyat quit. And then one other person was fired. There's been a total of 5 people that have been bounced due to the Signal Gate thing, none of which, by the way, seem to have come Waltz's corner, who was in charge of getting
Weird.
It makes total sense in some ways, because you could argue that Waltz's thing was a mistake getting Goldberg in there, and it would have just been a lazy, lame scandal where they talked about shit on an open channel about their deliberations until Hegseth copied and pasted fucking weapon systems, times, launch dates and times, and imminent launch dates in there. Right. And now it turns out he didn't just post it in that chat. He posted in this other one that included his fucking wife, who is a former Fox News producer who still has connections there, who's been sitting in on top secret meetings and deliberations with him for reasons no one can explain. No one is bothering to explain.
No, they don't feel like they have to.
Right. So, but he called this one Defense Team Huddle. That was the second one. The original one set up by Waltz was this other one. Hegseth set this one up himself. This is his. This isn't another one of Waltz's. This isn't an offshoot.
So that's even worse.
It's way worse. It's way worse.
Right.
And again, the fact that his wife is in it and he's posting. This is the other thing. The posting. He's not. There's no way he's typing from memory what he just saw. He's not that kind of an intellect.
No.
Period. He cut and pasted, which means
from official shit. So
right.
That's
so how's he doing it? Is he doing it through two tiers of stuff, or is he just got him on the same computer and on the same phone?
Well, I mean, the assumption being like if you're going to have a secure government email account is the assumption, correct? And so it's possible, you have your mail app on your phone, so it's really possible. Like, hey, look what we're doing. Screenshot, drop it in the chat. Screenshot, drop it in the chat. Super easy to do that. It's super easy to do that when you're in any way. Like again, I have a Signal chat going with my friends where we share our Wordle responses and our other puzzles. We do our puzzle games, and that's our chat. And we just drop it in there. It's very easy to cut and paste or share a link or whatever. He's such a moron that he is treating this like it's, hey, we're having a get-together on Saturday. Like he made a Facebook invite for a party. And everyone's just contributing to that. And they're treating it so casually when it's a conversation that, first of all, his wife shouldn't be privy to, and it should be taking place physically in a skiff, not separately on your phone while you're sitting there, slugging from your bottle of Jameson's at the same time, punch drunk Pete. The man has not been sober since he got his gig, or even from before. He cannot be counted on to make good decisions. He will continue to make mistakes because his alcoholism, because his disease is controlling his decision-making processes in his brain. And so until he can remove that, until he can go and and I'm not kidding. I mean, alcohol is poison, and it poisons the person who continues to abuse it. And so it's going to affect your motor skills and your bodily functions and your brain and your reaction times and all the things that alcohol does. You continuously abuse it, and it's like, people who maybe they're not drinking in that moment, but they still smell like alcohol because they got the whiskey sweats. I bet that's what he smells like at all times because he's, and so that's not a person who should be anywhere near the government. And it's another situation where it is entirely possible that Trump decided to nominate first tier terrible people so that he could bring in somebody who he's got on the bench who might be even worse.
Yeah, I mean,
because he loves a scapegoat, right? I heard you when you were, wait 1 second, when you were talking to John and you were like, this person came highly recommended. That's how he gets away with not taking responsibility when his appointees fuck up. Well, they came highly recommended.
Or he gives them an impossible job. He gives them an impossible job and they can't do it. Right? He gives them an impossible job that is impossible to do.
Right. And most makes women do that, though.
Right. That's the things he wants to shut down.
And then
he wants
can
to close down a department.
Failure, so he doesn't have to take responsibility.
So the question with Hegseth is I don't know who he has waiting in the wings to replace Hegseth, because Hegseth, is the guy
Mike
that, oddly
Flynn.
enough, he's not going to replace Hegseth with Mike Flynn. Mike Flynn
pretend he wants to, though.
Yeah, Mike Flynn couldn't get cleared through the Senate.
No, there's no way. At least the Senate. At least there are enough Republicans to be like, I'm not even that bad that I would confirm Mike Flynn. So it'll be somebody similar in that universe who's just as terrible. Someone who's Tom Homan adjacent, someone who's Pam Bondi-esque in their complete feckless.
Pam Bondi is the prototype for what you're talking about. Pam Bondi was Matt Gates's, was the follow-up to Matt Gates. Was like, Pam Bondi on her own might have never gotten cleared, but after he presented her after Matt Gates, by comparison, she seems, less terrible. The problem is with Hegseth, he seems when he hitches his wagon, and he's kind of stuck with this person. It starts getting harder and harder to walk back away from it the more he comes to the guy's defense. Waltz is unknown, and Waltz would be the easy guy to jettison, but they missed that boat. And here comes Hegseth, who is such a fuck up that they both manage to sort of dodge the bullet. He's more famous and important to Trump and right out of central casting, Fox News, good looking guy, versus Waltz, who's a bit of a dweeb. No, I'm saying by Trump standards. Yes.
By Trump standards.
Does.
Sure.
Trump standards,
yes.
right? Like around Mar-a-Lago.
Yes.
He looks like a golf buddy. Right.
Yeah.
He looks like a tennis pro.
He does, and he also... Yes. He also looks like somebody somehow made a Rock'em Sock'em robot self-aware.
Yeah.
He has that chiseled Rock'em Sock'em robot.
That's right. And that's but whereas Waltz doesn't. So Trump has this, at one point, they really did, as far as the news cycle, because the tariffs are so fucked up and because there's no Iran deal to be had, and Trump has promised war with them in 2 fucking weeks, by the way. We are April 3rd.
Great.
Or sorry, May 3rd. May 3rd will be the final day, which is like it's hard to say when his letter was sent because he wasn't really clear about it.
That's two.
But
that's in 2 weeks.
If he sent it regular postal mail and it took 7 days to get there, the absolute outside of when he was talking last time is that May 3rd would be the weekend we strike Iran because they missed the red line. His red line, that's the absolute last date for his alleged red line in that letter that he says he sent. So again,
why would we believe anything?
Right? No, I agree. But he sets this standard. He sets this
fear.
Right. He set this standard. He said it. He can't blame the New York Times for reporting that he sent a letter with this. He said it. So the point is that that's coming up, and we've got Ulyat, the guy who quit, who was the spokesperson. Parnell's now filling in there. Is that Ulyat quit because he didn't want to be second banana, and he wanted to be the top Himmler spokesperson on behalf of these policies, and he wouldn't take anything less. It was a Glenn Close moment, like I will not be ignored, and he just stormed out, right? And so they're painting him as a disgruntled employee when in reality he had screwed up, so he had to lose his job. But he wasn't. It's not like he's anti DEI. He's not anti. He's not anti-Trump agenda. He's very pro-Trump agenda. And so the idea that he's now going to undermine Trump's agenda because because of petty jealousy or a spat with fucking Hegseth is worse, arguably, than if it was a real, subterfuge. If the guy's really a fucking, double agent and all that, then there's no way to answer that. Some people can just do that. But if you're just hiring petty bitches like this and that will endanger national security just for the sake of, because, oh my God, how dare you? Like, if that's your stand, that's fucking worse to me. That's worse than accidentally hiring a spy, because at least you were played on a legit, chess game. If a spy tricked you or you were fucking hypnotized, I don't know.
Right. No one has ever accused this administration of doing anything intelligent. So,
Jesus Christ.
And a lot of it is about, stoking as much chaos as possible and putting on a show so that we have no idea what's going on behind the scenes and what could possibly be even worse considering what we're seeing right in front of us. And so, you and I have talked about that a lot before, and invoking the Rachel Maddow quote of ignore what they say and watch what they do. And so, there's a lot of that false MAGA bravado. Pete Hegseth could be shaken in his shoes right now, worried about getting fired because he is, again, one fuck up is bad, 2 fuck ups, and especially when it's threatening our national
unforced
security.
Errors.
That is something that
totally unforced errors.
Right. The even the most staunch MAGA supporter has to be concerned about their own safety and their own security. And they have to be able to look at the bigger picture of, is this person qualified to protect my country for me against my perceived enemies? Like, I don't even care about the cult mentality. It's somewhere in there has to be the thought process of, holy shit, like, this is having my drunk uncle take care of the country, and we can't have that. We cannot have that. So there should be demands from both sides of the aisle for Hegseth to resign immediately. If he doesn't resign immediately, he should be subpoenaed to testify, televised before Congress, so that the entire country can see just how supremely unqualified he is. And then the demand will get louder and louder, and we have seen it work. We have seen pressure work on Trump before. When he makes a decision and then it turns out to be incredibly unpopular, he will blink and he will back down. So he might say on Monday, I'm not firing anybody. I love everybody. Everybody's great. He came highly recommended. And by Friday, Pete Hegseth is the coffee boy. That could easily happen in Trump world because Donald Trump only listens to the last person who whispered in his ear.
So I don't know if
I'm not saying it will happen. I'm just saying it could.
I don't know if you've read Ulyat's he was the spokesperson for the Pentagon that Hegseth put in place. One of his boys. Right. All these guys are his boys. Dan Caldwell was the deputy chief of staff, was his senior advisor. Deputy chief of staff Darren Selnick, and then the secretary, the assistant chief of staff. That's what it was. Chief of staff to the deputy secretary of defense Darren Selnick. All three of those top level guys were all punted. They were all escorted out of the fucking building. And these guys are maggot through and through. They are all on board with Trump's agenda 100%. Like, none of these guys are secret liberals. This isn't about purging the fucking deep state or draining the goddamn swamp. They are new. They were brought in specifically. They have all been very close to him. And Ulyat himself wrote an op-ed. The last op-ed that Ulyat wrote was talking about how Pete Hegseth is the perfect guy to shake up things at the Pentagon and make it better. He wrote this right before the confirmation, and the next one is like, holy shit, this guy's a fucking miserable bag of shit. And so three of these guys get punted in one day. Ulyat quits, and another guy is walked out. But they're all of them were supposed to take that, you heard maybe they were supposed to take lie detector tests. I don't know if you heard this. They were all going to, as part of the investigation that Casper was going to put forward, his chief of staff. Well, not only did they not get the lie detector tests, but they were all told that they were going to be cleared of everything before they were walked out of the building. They were literally like, it was like they were baited into the office. Like, you guys are totally cool. Don't worry about any of this. We just need to meet with you. They took them into their office so they couldn't go back to their desks, and then they fucking walked them all out. Basically, just short of being in handcuffs. And then turns out Casper is stepping down. So the chief of staff, the guy who started Joe Casper, Politico is announcing that he is leaving as of Friday. He's the guy who requested the investigation that bounced these other fuckers. So that means that he and Hegseth have had words, and Hegseth is pissed about this, and is asking him to leave, or is, it just says leaving his role. So it sounds like he's quitting because Hegseth, I maybe, and then shit. If you think Ulyat's tell-all would be bad, Joe Casper, the guy who actually wanted a real investigation that led to three of these other fuckers being punted, that's fucked up. Like, and again, this is not, I personally believe there are no partisan issues. There are partisan solutions. You might differ on how we solve this problem, but the existence of gravity is not up for debate, nor is it partisan. The question of do we fly or do we drive is the partisan solution idea, right? Which one I think is safer, which one's more efficient, which one's, more reliable, those kind of things, right? Or comfort. The issue that we have here is that none of this is normally partisan at all. Like, any SecDef in this same situation would have been punted a long fucking time ago. They would have had, they'd have lasted 2 Scaramucci's, and that'd be it. But Trump has just got, he's bit Hegseth in the ass and wants to be dragged to death. Like, it is so weird that he can't bounce this guy. And I think it's almost 100% because he was from Fox News. That's it. There's no deeper thought going into it.
Yeah, for sure. No, there's not. And I mean, the embarrassment for Trump now is going to supersede anything else because he only cares about the perception from the public. And so this is the first time they just kind of try to blow it off. Oh, whatever, no big. But this time seems way worse. And it fully falls on Hegseth this time. They can't fob it off on anybody. So Trump is faced with the decision of doubling down with this complete fuck up and saying, no, I'm fine with him fucking up like this. This fuck up is fine with me. It's great. Let's let the whole world know how insecure this entire system is. Or he has to figure out a way to scapegoat Pete Hegseth and blame the entire thing on him and then replacing him with someone that he will say is even better and comes even more highly recommended. And it'll be the same thing that we saw. There will be a revolving door in every single agency eventually with Trump, because that's what happened the last time. Nobody stayed through the entire 4 years. Right? Yeah. Am I right about that?
I want to say
Stephen Miller.
Stephen
Miller
Ross
is one lone holdout.
I don't know that Wilbur Ross was replaced.
Yeah, like the smaller ones that stay behind the scenes. The ones that never go on TV, the ones that kind of stay behind the scenes are super quiet and scarily loyal will be the ones that stick around. But these showboating, cock of the walk type of people, Pete Hegseth is good at being an agitator and a bully, but that doesn't mean he's qualified to be the Secretary of Defense. And he's now proven that. Like, he got his time to kill people, like planes fell out of the sky, and he and Road Rash are not taking responsibility for that, and he's not taking responsibility. Eventually, somebody's going to say to Donald Trump, this looks bad for you. And Trump can't have that. So he's going to, I don't think Pete Hegseth has this job by the end of this week or a week from now. He can't have this job just because it makes Donald Trump look bad. Right?
Well,
and so maybe he'll go back to Fox News and be like, hey, Jesse Waters, are you free? Like, what?
Right.
Like, who could? As bad as Hegseth there's already now a discussion about who can step into the role. They already are thinking about who can do this job. They're already, I think, and it's not going to be, right. Jokingly, you can say Mike Flynn. It's not going to be Mike Flynn. You have to think about who is in this universe right now. Who is in this circle of people who allegedly are appointed to take care of our national security. You have Ratcliffe. So you have Tulsi. You have their underlings. You have, who's scary? Joe Kent. Waiting in the wings, waiting for a role like this. So
but he can't. Joe Kent couldn't get cleared. He couldn't get Senate clearance to be like deputy chief of staff or whatever for or chief of staff for Tulsi Gabbard. So the idea that he's going to be moved up into this position is written. That's the issue. Is that Trump doesn't have a plan B when it comes to Hegseth.
His name.
Yeah. No, it's bad that he's
he's going to have to scramble.
There's a glass ceiling on this. So
he's going
to This is from Olyot's op-ed that he did in Politico,
and it's his wife and brother.
Yeah,
I mean, it's just and when don't ever talk to me about Hunter Biden like ever fucking again when we have this right.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, I mean, if they had the laptop and it had all the shit on it that they said it had on it for real, you don't think they would be traipsing around a bunch of emails that have, secret American details that were transferred back and forth, like any of that shit? They wouldn't just be dumping that into the news feed right now to cover up for this, just to pile on, just for some straw to hide the needle, right? But in this one, he goes, they talked about this. Pentagon set up a top secret briefing for Joint Chiefs of Staff on China for Elon Musk, who still has business. And after learning it, the White House canceled the meeting. Now, by the way, this is not true. It's not after the White House found out that they canceled the meeting. It's after the press asked Trump about it that they canceled the meeting. He was pissed because the press knew, not because he knew. If he knew and it hadn't gotten out, he wouldn't have cared. It's about what gets out. Then came the purges, and the news keeps coming. On Sunday night, the New York Times reported that Hegseth shared details about the Yemen strike in another Signal chat that included his wife and brother. And this is Olyot's, this guy who was the spokesperson for Hegseth at the Pentagon up until last Thursday. There are very
Bigger
likely
bombshell stories coming this week.
This week,
Awesome.
key Pentagon reporters have been telling sources privately. And by the way, he's one of the sources. Like, he's one of the people. They're like, hey, can you comment on this? Is this true? And I'm sure he has verified some of this shit. And again, listen to the follow-up. One reason
them look worse is fine with me.
One reason the American people gave Trump a conclusive victory last November is that he's not a go-along, get-along creature of the belt. I just simmer, because I'm trying to explain.
Well, this is political.
I agree, but this is him still blowing smoke up Trump's ass. So the idea that the rest of the article is somehow like he's anti-Trump, and and that's why he's a disgruntled anti-Trumper, or he's a never-Trumper now after seeing what Trump is like up close. That's not this at all. As a matter of fact, he is probably more all in on this than Hegseth ever will be. Hegseth just wants to be like the bravado dickhead and fly around to bases and beat his chest and pretend to be a Marine and, and just like Don Jr. He's the same kind of asshole that Don Jr. is. Like, they want to be macho, I killed a giant rhino. Never mind the fact that it was tied to a tree, right?
Yeah,
so he goes...
This is a perfect example of how the MAGA cult manipulates language.
Right.
And because this entire paragraph, and it's just like you said, it's like, I'm going to be critical of everything that happened, but I'm going to still kiss his big diapered ass so that nobody slips any polonium in my morning tea.
Well,
so
here we go. I'm
going to be critical of Hegseth, but not Trump.
Right. So he goes, one reason the American people gave Trump a conclusive victory last November is that he's not a go-along, get-along creature of the Beltway like many of his recent predecessors, but rather a shrewd businessman who expects results and holds his team accountable for serious mistakes that occur on their watch. And then this is the part that stands out to me. Just ask Cabinet Secretaries Jim Mattis, Mark Esper, Rex Tillerson, David Shulkin, Tom Price, and Ryan Zinke. They, like Hegseth, are all good men and patriots whom Trump dismissed in his first term when he found their performance wanting. But the difference is that in his first cabinet, these were people who pushed back against his baser instincts and actually were trying to get him to do the right thing. They weren't failing him. They were trying to just keep him within the bounds of being constitutional, or at the very least, like, make the crime less evident so they don't all fucking get caught. But Hegseth is in this new zone of sycophants, like Pam Bondi, who fucking calls Trump president instead of Mr. President or President Trump, because she likes the sound of El Presidente when other countries say it. So his alignment with like you could tell he brought this up. How come they call people down there Presidente or whatever? And they went, oh, they just say president down there. He's like, I want people to call me that. And the same thing that he wants the generals to snap to, like Kim Jong-un when he's around.
It's quickly, like, it's always been Mr. President, always. Mm-hmm. And I mean, to every other president. So they just he wants people to call him president as though it was his first name.
Right.
President, how are you feeling?
Yeah,
not
that's
Mr.
what she does.
President,
She's the only one who does it. And it's super fucking weird.
It's more respectful to call him Mr. President.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just president. It's like calling the Pope Johnny, or Frank. It's just too casual. It's
just calling him Pope. Hey, Pope. It's stupid. Hey, Pope. It's weird. Right.
What's up, Pope?
Yo, Pope.
And by the way, J.D. Vance killed the Pope. He shook his hand and the man woke up dead. So, can J.D. Vance shake Donald Trump's hand very soon?
Easy.
Very soon.
All right.
And then shake his own hand. Shake his own hand and then
So here's the tail end of this. Here's the tail end of this thing. The president deserves better. Yes, right. The current, he's using a little bit of Yiddish there. Current Michigas Pentagon, given his record.
Is Olyad a member of the tribe? Is he Jewish?
I think so.
Is Olyad?
The president deserves better than the current Michigas at the Pentagon, given his record of holding prior cabinet leaders accountable. Many in the secretary's own inner circle will applaud quietly if Trump chooses to do the same in short order at the top of the Defense Department. So what he's saying is that everybody around Hegseth will be happy if he gets fired, if he gets bounced by Trump.
That right there, that is why Pete Hegseth is not long for his job. He's just not. He's gonna end up crawling back to Fox News with his drunken tail between
and Fuglesang made a great point that this op-ed was cleared by Susie Wiles, Trump's
right. I heard that. I heard him say that, which means everybody
makes total sense.
He is. I said, by the end of the week, he's the coffee boy. He's back at Fox, and he's going to continue. But if he does go back to Fox, which is being demoted, if he does, he's going to come back with all of that grandstanding, false bravado still.
Okay, I think he'll get a no-show job at Palantir. I think he gets a no-show job at Palantir at a defense contractor.
There's that, or like John said, he's very popular with all of the people who can spell OAN, so maybe he gets a job at OAN. It's very possible. Like there is a role for someone like Pete Hegseth in Trump world. It's not the correct one. And if Trump had a brain in his head and understood anything, Pete Hegseth would have been much more useful remaining at Fox rather than stepping into a role that's that impactful to not just the nation but the world. That was one of, because he's not a shrewd businessman. He's not a shrewd politician. He's not shrewd at all. He's stupid and he's surrounded by yes people. Mm-hmm. So, if you have at least any sort of, if you're playing a long game, you're looking ahead. How is this person going to serve in this role a year from now, 2 years from now? Because in the short term, they can't do it. If they can't do it now, they're never going to be able to do it. Put him back where he belongs, which is spewing your bullshit propaganda for you on Fox. That's where he should have stayed. He actually could have had a direct line to whoever the real Secretary of Defense was, and he could have gotten all of this. So again, we can't continue. Why would you expect competence from the least competent people ever? Right?
Well, and again, my biggest concern is that it's kind of like the idea that, Trump pushes this whole thing like him being a Russian agent or whatever. And like nobody thinks he's a Russian agent. Russians are smarter than to put somebody like him in charge of something. They just need a chaos aspect of him. They need him to come in and fuck around stupidly because that's enough. That gives them a wedge where they can work their way in. The same thing is true of Hegseth. Like Hegseth doesn't need to be in there working for China and Russia. All he has to do is go in and fuck up the Pentagon. And it's effectively what he has done. He has absolutely done that. So Joe Casper, Hegseth's chief of staff, said on Friday he's leaving. Dan Caldwell, Darren Selnick, and Colin Carroll, the chief of staff to Deputy Defense Secretary Stephen Feinberg, were placed on leave on Wednesday. They were the ones that were walked to the door, were shown the door without being allowed to go back to their fucking desks because it's a crime scene now. All three were fired on Friday. So one of the things that happened late in the news day on Friday night was the fact that while they've been walked out, they've been put on leave on Wednesday. And so everybody was led to believe that the story just kind of was over. They were all fired Friday, officially.
Well, if you can't keep good help, maybe you are not actually, qualified to be in charge. I don't know. know. Keep hiring terrible people. And it's just indicative that nobody appointed by Trump is qualified to do their job. If you're going to look at this story, there's all the departments that aren't making news that are probably failing miserably. And it's also notable, Pete Hegseth has a .ru email address. That's a Russian government email.
Again, that one is unconfirmed according to Snopes, I will say for the record. And it is not uncommon. It's not uncommon for people to set up well-known people all over the world using that name on Russia sites, and has been for a long time as a backdoor way of trying to catfish people. So that still exists there. My favorite thing of all, I think, is the example, and it's to your point about them being fuck-ups and Trump not being a shrewd businessman and this illusion of him being that way is as much of the problem as anything else. But this is the part of the article that came out on Politico on I think last night before Al Yacht did his op-ed Sunday. They were talking about Joe Casper, the guy who was the chief of staff for Pete Hegseth. His chief of staff, personally brought in to be his chief of staff. This is a guy that, like the other guys that were punted, were close to Pete Hegseth. Okay, so these are all he
Right.
brought his bros.
So he brought
in.
his drinking brothers. He brought his drinking buddies to come hang out with him at work.
And this
they
is
could
the part
party
that
all day.
stands out. Like they could talk about, again, you can't leak a lie. Can I remind everybody that it is impossible? You can't leak a lie. You can lie to the press, but you can't leak a lie. If you're
Right.
there's no such thing as leaking a lie. You can only leak the truth. You can lie about something.
Sure.
Or you can leak the truth. So anytime he says these leakers, they're leakers, then he's admitting it's true. Anybody who calls somebody a leaker or saying it's a leak means it's true. It's an automatic confirmation. Just the use of the word leak. It drives me fucking crazy. Hashtag you can't leak a lie. So Joe, they're talking about talking about Joe Casper. Some at the Pentagon also started to notice a rivalry between Casper and the fired advisors. Now, I would say that this is cover, but whatever. Joe didn't like those guys, said one defense official. They all have different styles. They just didn't get along. It was a personality clash. Followed by, there was a complete meltdown in the building. This is really reflecting on the secretary's leadership, said a senior defense official. Pete Hegseth has surrounded himself with some people who don't have his interests at heart. So again, it's one thing to go, there's subversives in here who are working to undercut me, the swamp, the deep state, the liberals that were put here to undermine, whatever. That storyline that they tell. Okay, on that end, everybody has the right to be fooled. Fool me once, you'll get fooled again. Everybody has the right to be bamboozled by somebody or suckered. Again, we hear people on our side of the aisle who use all the right jargon but couldn't give a rat fuck about the Palestinians at the end of the day. We've dealt with this a bunch. We've talked about this. Same thing. Everybody's welcome to being, because it means that your values meant so much to you that that you might have bought into somebody's line of bullshit easier because you cared so much what you believe. So it means you're a bit of that. It's easier to bamboozle a true believer than it is somebody with no moral flag at all, right? So
of course,
if the argument is, I really thought this guy was on the team and he was a liar, like you can. Then fire him or arrest him or whatever. Any of these guys, if that's what happened, that can happen to anybody, and you're done. You're done with the scandal. I would lead everybody to Fang Fang, the Eric Swalwell thing. She was raising money.
Which is not a thing,
right?
Yep.
But
and
she was
found
raising
out,
money, and
then
also
he was like,
"Bye," and they flew her back to China. Nobody's seen her since. She's never left the country. Right? So that's okay.
Nope, and nothing ever. You know what's interesting though? That line, Pete Hegseth surrounded himself with some people who don't have his interests.
Right.
His.
Not the people, not the Constitution.
Not the people, not the country, not the government, not the national, who don't have our national security.
Yeah.
They're not interested in that. What are his interests? That's a curious
I'll tell you what they are.
There.
Covering his ass when he fucks up.
And they're not going to take the blame when he fucks up.
They're not willing to take the fall.
Right. And he's like, they're like, I'm not your whipping girl. I'm not your fall guy. You can't scapegoat me. Fuck you. And then he's like, well, if you're not going to eat shit for me, then you can go. So that's indicative of Trump's entire life. By the way, that's a Trump management tactic right there. Because if you're not serving Trump's best interests, you're useless, right? So if you're not willing to go to prison, if you're not going to be Alan Weisselbergy, then you're gone. Then you're the coffee boy. Then, and so that is very Trumpy.
Yeah.
That's very Trumpy.
Yeah. And the other thing is that the most, especially in a giant organization, if you have a small group, then loyalty is the primary thing. If you've got an 8-person team, then you could argue as a family company, as you and your PR team, as a celebrity or something, then loyalty is very important because you can circle the wagons around this. But when you're in charge of the largest bureaucracy in the United States, specifically the U.S. military, as the SecDef, and you have to oversee a bunch of, honest to God, the vast majority of the stuff the SecDef has to do is as a liaison, and can be quite boring. It's perfunctory. Its value comes from your efficiency and your awareness of costs, and making sure that our fighters have everything they need and nobody's running off with shit, and that all the contracts are met, and we've got good relations, and none of our vendors are leaking technology to people. There's so many things, and the VA and all this other stuff that is
Right.
It's like running a giant insurance company while you're running a giant technology company and all this. There's a lot to that. And loyalty in those situations is not the primary function, because if somebody just is willing to cover your ass, they will jettison chunks of the entire company to protect you, to protect the CEO from the bad press. They'll just let sections of the company burn to the fucking ground. And that's what we're seeing. Which is apparently happen.
Right. And now what's the next line? This week's terminations follow a purge. Mm-hmm. So what you just said is exactly what they did, what happened. Right. And so, and this is what, like, again, the cult mentality, you want to follow Trump into a giant fire pit. That's your business. That's the whole country, though. You know, and I had a discussion with somebody, not somebody on our side, let's say, on Instagram over the weekend. And it was one of these weird disconnect things, because the guy spent the entire day telling me I wasn't intelligent, but then he bought my book and told me it was fantastic. So I don't know what to do with that. I don't, like we fought all day long, and then you bought my book and you love it. I'm like, thank you. I don't know. And insulting my intelligence about it, which is frustrating, because when you continue to show me how absolutely dysfunctional you are, how can you continue to support somebody and a full setup where they are constantly shredding decent, good people who are competent at their jobs to replace them with a clown car full of drunken, pieces of shit? Like, it's like this. How many times do we have to show you these patterns before you catch on to the fact that Republicans are always out to destroy everything that the Democrats have just completed and put together? And we went back and forth, and I was like, here's a reason, and here's a reason. He's like, yeah, well, I just don't see it like that. And I'm like, well, what do you do with that? If you're not going to see what's right in front of you, all we can continue to do is point out the glaring hypocrisy of you continuing to support something that just a few years ago you would have been screaming your head off about. And so Democrats pointed to the firings as what? Can scroll.
Oh, so this is the front office has some really first-rate uniformed military staff. This is former Trump officials, but there's only so much you can pick up in an organization that big. That kind of dysfunction compounds. Democrats pointed to the firings as another example of him being unable to lead the agency. Everybody knew that Pete Hegseth did not possess the leadership qualities, background, or experience to be Secretary of Defense, said Chris Meagher, who served as Assistant Defense Secretary for Public Affairs during the Biden administration. Everything we've seen since then, the firing of several American heroes because of perceived lack of loyalty, the sloppiness of Signalgate, the complete lack of transparency, and now several political staff being shown the door, has only confirmed he doesn't have what it takes to lead, which is exactly it.
He's gone.
Beyond the single fuck up. And again, this is really, now it becomes a test. It becomes so obvious that Hegseth is a fuck up that it's now on Trump. Everything from this point forward is kind of like what I was talking about with the chat, like in the Signal group. There was a point to which, is it bad that they're discussing their deliberations in a free chat with the vice president who is, talking about our European ally? Yeah, that's bad. It's not good, but it's a political scandal if it gets out because it's embarrassing or whatever. But until Pete Hegseth entered in those details, everybody there was just involved in a scandal. After that, they were involved in a crime. And we now know that, again, it was not about the fact that Goldberg was added to the Signal chat that was the issue. It was that Hegseth posted classified material in a classified setting, which we know was not a safe setting because there was a fucking reporter in there. And now we find out he copied and pasted the exact same fucking thing into a chat involving his wife, who's a former Fox News host. So the question becomes, did she forward it to anyone at Fox to kind of go, oh, this is about to happen, and give them a tip on, we're going to hit these things. You get ready because you guys will be on the front end of this story. If that happens, then that crime his entire family now, his mom and like the kids that they have, their mom and dad are now engaged in a criminal endeavor to release classified information in a non-classified setting. And if that's ever going to be a crime again, they got to go to jail for it. Now, Trump will probably pardon them, but not until they are.
But still.
Yeah, not until they're busted for it. And the question is, does he pardon Pete,
it's Rosenberg.
not the wife?
They should.
Yes.
It's treason, and it's Rosenbergy, and you should be treated like that. It used to be bad to do stuff like this, and I wish that there was accountability. That'd be super duper. Accountability seems to elude any elected MAGA official, but I think in this situation, because he was appointed, it's easy. You can scapegoat him. You can throw him out of there. You can blame him now. Right. Like once you remove him,
dude,
Trump
you have
can
an
just
out.
Barrage him. Just dump all the shit on Pete Hegseth because he won't be there anymore, and whoever you put in their place is going to look better by comparison. I mean, you could put a dead potted plant in there; it would look better by comparison. But it's one of those situations, like I said earlier, Trump probably was ignoring this until it impacted the way he looks to his cult. And
I would argue that is exactly where we are. That's
where we are today. We'll be gone by Friday, if not before.
As of today, it's no longer Hegseth's problem. Hegseth has been an albatross for weeks around Trump's neck, just for his incompetence and blather and bullshit, and normal Trumpian nonsense. But now,
that's right.
He's an anchor around Trump's neck while he's trying to get his agenda across, while at the same time the stock market is tanking. Is down like 1,100 points because Trump's threatening to fire Powell, which he can't do, by the way. But the point is
that.
Yeah, it's so stupid.
Right. All the things that he can't.
And whoever he nominates has to clear the Senate too. So it's not like they're gonna let him put fucking Gary Busey in charge. So right. Hey, I got some
Dr.
great
Oz
ideas.
got confirmed.
Right.
Jesus Christ.
And again, you could argue that, and I have, that Trump puts people in charge, women in charge of agencies he wants to get rid of. And
so he can blame them when it fails.
And then I think he has a secondary version of that, which is like put TV stars in charge of stuff that you want to jettison or undermine or destroy on behalf of your handlers in Russia or your own family bullshit.
Highly recommended.
Right.
Right.
So
it's just that mentality. Like, I know it sounds naive and maybe a little silly in 2025, but I really miss the days when there was something that resembled comportment in our politics, when politicians behaved in a specific way. Maybe they may have acted differently behind closed doors, and so what? But publicly, they acted with the respect and the comportment that their office demanded. They rose to that occasion publicly. They served the public and spoke, eloquently. If not eloquently, at least appropriately. And now, now you see the White House Twitter account bullying Kilmar Abrego Garcia.
Right.
And that's the mentality, and that's how far we've fallen. And you see, and before we get to this, we can do this now, but before we leave. Whenever I know we're about to get there, but we'll probably go over we can talk about Powell right up. We have to talk about Nancy Mace before we end our show today.
Oh yeah, okay.
I don't know. Okay, we have to talk about that. But let's get to this. Okay, you want to talk about that now? We can talk about it now. Do you have the video? So, regulars of the show know that I have tangoed with Nancy Mace because I don't like her. I don't like her being a transphobic piece of shit. I don't like the way she behaves. But what I really don't like is that she is a rape survivor, not holding Trump accountable for being a rapist pedophile, and definitely not holding him accountable for giving safe asylum in the United States of America to international sex trafficking rapists Andrew and Tristan Tate. And she can do all of this performative bullshittery and Streisand affecting of herself. She doesn't have time to denounce that, and it irritates me as a woman, as someone who has survived sexual violence, as someone just being a human being. This weekend, Nancy Mace went to Ulta, as people are allowed to do. And one of her constituents very calmly said, "Hey, Nancy, are you going to be holding any more town halls soon? Another town hall soon?" And she went off on this man.
So
she went off on him.
So
it's infuriating to see this behavior from a sitting member of Congress who, the performativeness of her whole life, it just irritates me. But here's this very nice man.
She also says, by the way, the guy is wearing, quote, Daisy Dukes.
Daisy Dukes. Those are not Daisy Dukes.
Shorts. He's just wearing
shorts. And she clocks him as gay and whatever, and he was like, "Why would you even talk to me about gay marriage? You can't say with one breath, I support gay marriage, but You're a transphobic piece of shit is what you are.
Them every year.
So
you want to keep going? Do you want to keep going and keep harassing me? You could have gone to a dozen town halls last year.
I asked if you're doing any more this year. It was one simple question.
Yeah.
Are you doing a town
I've
hall
already
this year?
done one. I'll do plenty more.
Any more this year was a simple question.
You're always invited.
Okay, sweet. Well,
And by the way, I voted for gay marriage twice.
What does that have to do with
So
me?
I'm just saying, it has everything to do with you.
You think everything about me has to do with gay marriage?
I do,
That's
absolutely.
your first stance when you speak with me?
Absolutely.
There's no other humane
If you want to get in my
conversation you
face
can
about
have
town
me?
halls, you should have shown up to one last year.
There's no other humane thing you can talk about me just saying, oh, I support gay marriage.
Yeah,
That's the
because
only
you're
thing
getting
you
in
have
my
to
face
say.
about a town hall. You
Oh,
could have
just
gone
ask me one
last year.
simple question from
Would
right
you
over
like
here
me?
is if you have any plans to have more town halls this year.
I have town
That
halls
was one
every year.
question.
I have over a dozen
Okay.
every year.
Great. That was my entire question. You didn't have to go
Yeah.
into the spiel about
You
everything
could
else
have
you wanted to.
come to any of them last year.
Okay. And I'm
I had
asking you
over a
about this year, not
dozen.
2024. But
Where
for
were you the year
right?
before that?
Okay.
Or the year before that?
It was a simple
Oh,
question. I
because
asked
you know
if
what?
have
Because
any
you
more that
people
you're
on the
going to
left
this
are
year or not.
crazy.
So I'm
You're
on the left.
absolutely fucking crazy.
I'm absolutely fucking
You are.
crazy.
And get out of my face.
You're insane.
Goodbye.
You're insane.
Fuck you.
You're gonna fuck me?
do you understand why I'm furious?
Right.
That is so like her behavior is fully unhinged and inappropriate.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I'm so tired of people calling me unhinged for calling out her behavior or any other behavior.
Right.
I'm so tired of the fucking projection language and the way that they manipulate language. And she Streisand affected herself. She posted
Yeah.
that video herself.
Oh, yeah.
She does not come off looking good, right? At all. And she's claiming he harassed her when he didn't. All he did was ask her a question. He did not swear at her. She swore at him first. And he just kept saying, that's all I asked you. And his voice is calm. He doesn't go off on her. And she takes it to a place it did not need to go. A sitting member of Congress.
I'm not. I won by so much.
You're a disgrace.
No, you
That's
didn't.
what you are. You're a disgrace. I asked you a simple question, and you just to go on this tirade and tell me "fuck you."
Yeah, fuck you.
Disgusting.
Get out of my face.
He's my hero. I
Get
love
out of
him.
my face.
I love
Try
him.
it again. What's
He
your
wasn't
name?
in her.
What's your
You're
name?
an nasty bitch. That's
What's
my
your
name.
name?
You say "fuck me"?
Yep, I
That's
sure
the
did.
first thing you're saying is "fuck me" for asking
Absolutely.
you a question?
Get the fuck out of my face.
Fuck you.
Now.
Fuck you.
Fuck
Right
you.
in his face.
You couldn't take me on, baby. Stay the fuck away from me.
Just all call Nancy Mace's office today and say "fuck you"
So
and hang up.
weird. It's so weird.
I
All
have
right, so
emailed.
then-
I emailed I emailed her office, and then I haven't checked my email since I emailed. I'm not even going to call them anymore. There's no point in calling her office anymore. But
So
I
our
emailed.
office
I
has been
emailed
calling
the
back.
comms director
Yeah.
directly, and I'm like, I am from now on. I am only going. I'm not going to call your office anymore. I'm emailing you directly. This is beyond
Right.
what a sitting member of Congress this is beyond how. And I was very respectful in my tone in my email, by the way. Said I'm looking forward to your respectful response. But I haven't checked my email since we've been on the show because I'm paying attention here. It's vile. And anything else, you don't have to know one thing about this woman. And all you have to do is watch that video to know that she's out of her mind.
Right.
That is not. That was not a measured response.
What constituent issues
Not-
they have that we can help resolve. And you know what? All but one so
Big
far,
Catholic
300
earrings.
phone calls, which, by the way, you're taking away from real constituents that need appointments at the VA or need
No.
assistance with a federal agency. Your BS calls are taking away from people who have real needs in our community, from housing to the VA to...
Yeah, by the
Stop
way,
calling
all
me and telling me
all
I'm
the-
terrible.
Right. All the stuff that she and Trump are trying to eliminate from the budget entirely, like the housing, VA, job issues, and they can't kill job creation fast enough. They've scuttled every housing program that exists under HUD. Even the VA, they're looking for ways to cut it. It's under the table. And the only time they stop is when a reporter calls them out and it pauses them for a couple of days. And then they get right back at it. And she knows this.
Yeah, she hasn't answered me.
Job issues, you name it, those that we're trying to assist. So of the folks we've called back, almost half of them, we've asked them, what concerns do you have as a constituent that our office has not resolved for you? Not one person has any issue with a federal agency that we can assist them with. Not one. No,
That we can assist them with.
That's so
very
shocking
sweet lady who
that
called
all of
very
the calls
angry,
to your office
as
are
is
telling
an
you what a
animal rights
fucking
person
cunt you are.
and
Right.
assists with providing
It takes a lot for me to
homeless
say
and
the C word,
housing
by the
to
way.
animals who are found homeless, etc., doing great work for animals. She's got a real need. But one out of a couple hundred out of 300, What you all are doing is evil. It's completely evil. Help those.
What we're doing is evil.
Yeah, she's
We're
getting evil phone calls.
We're not. We're evil. We're not sitting members of Congress verbally harassing a constituent.
Your own constituents, right?
You're in. She's ultra MAGA. There's not enough makeup in the world to make Nancy Mace attractive because she's ugly on the inside.
Right.
It infuriates me on so many levels. And she's gone beyond the Marjorie Taylor Greene, Lauren Boebert behavior and created sort of, and she's Laura Loomer-esque now in her insanity. And the thing that's so frustrating is we're out here talking about it, right? We're elevating the story, she's getting attention from it, which is ultimately what she wants. She's learned that negative attention is still better than no attention, which is what it must be a daddy issue thing. It just really, at my core, bothers me when you call yourself a champion of women and then you behave like that. That's not how you behave. Like that's just not how a sitting member of Congress should behave when they are asked a question. That guy did not step to her. He was not in her face. He kept a physical distance. He did not use bad language until she did. Then he matched her. She took it to a place it didn't need to go. And this is just indicative of how far our political norms have fallen off in the last decade, thanks to Trump.
Right.
This is what he's done. This is a byproduct of what he's done, aside from sowing chaos and distrust in the media and divided our nation. He has created a culture of mean that has now seeped into our Congress and our White House, and that these official, anything that comes from their accounts or from their behavior is official congressional. That's their behavior now. And they're verbally abusing their own constituents. And again, I don't expect them to be flawless humans. But I want there always was this respectful behavior from our politicians. That's why they ran for office, because they operated on this level of, I am here to serve my country. And that doesn't make them beyond reproach. But there was a certain level of behavior that in public that we just expected from politicians, and that they would act dignified, at the very least, act dignified when you're in public.
Well,
you are representing.
I agree, but the problem that they have, especially the Nancy Maces of the world, is that if they're caught on film, on video, acting respectful to somebody that Trump would consider an enemy or a member of the public he doesn't give a shit about, it's as bad for them as an old-fashioned scandal where they treated somebody like shit. That MAGA has a glass ceiling over their head, that if they are ever caught being nice to somebody, and I would say there's some extremists on our side that feel the same way. Like, look at the reaction to Gretchen Whitmer, who was just scooped into the White House for one of these things, hasn't sided with Trump at all, is talking on behalf of her constituents as a governor.
I wish
isn't gonna fucking vote for anything. Has to, as a governor, get stuff from the president. Period. End of fucking story. And so, she's not a member of the Senate or something that's going to vote through one of his fucking bills. She's not, a House member who's going to help get his budget through. And if she was either of those things, she clearly would not vote for them. Right?
She looked miserable, by the way.
Yes,
she did not.
Right.
And then she figured out why she was there. She was like, no.
Yeah, right. But that was the point, is that there are people on our side that react to how dare you, don't go anywhere near it. That you can't use any tactic but fuck you, and nothing works. But we're way more, ironically, we're way more forgiving on it than MAGA are. And right now, there are so many of these people that are, if they don't yell the sort of fake news at individuals in their, just somebody having an opinion in a store in their district,
right?
Treating them like you treat the press, which you view as an arm of the other party, is
what she did.
That's exactly what she did. She acted like towards that guy what Pete Hegseth did, and she was filming it. So understand that this was something she was capturing. Not him. Right. It would be one thing if he was filming her and she was like, fuck you, and blah, blah, blah. She filmed her part of it, because that's the cult part. That's the fealty test. You've got to show something for it. You got to show that you have fealty to the orange shit gibbon, and prove that you were on his side. And so you film yourself shit talking a constituent, even if you initially thought what they were saying was sarcastic or rude. If you don't have the political capability of just going, the kind of thanks for watching kind of thing that most celebrities have to do.
Right. Like, why can't, if she in that moment had said to him, hey, thanks for asking. My next town hall is going to be on May 14th at 7:30, and I'd love to see you there. What was your name? Lovely to meet you. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your shopping day. It's not hard to do that.
No,
you
it
are.
isn't.
No, it's not. And if you ever call Nancy Mace's office and you get the voicemail, she'll say, proudly serving the Low Country, which is, South Carolina. So proudly serving South Carolina's Low Country. It's just, that's what it's called.
Sure.
And it's not and are you proudly serving? That man lives in your district. Are you proudly serving him? No, you're not. You're being no.
Yeah.
It's not hard to be a good person. Like when that MAGA guy was dragging me on Instagram, I gave it back as good as I got. And then when he slid into my DMs, he's like, I'm actually reading your book and it's really excellent. And I'm like, well, what do I do? What do I do with this? What do I do with this? And so what I said in response was, well, thank you. I just wish you had better taste in the same taste in politicians as you do in authors. So, and that's a way to acknowledge we may not be on the same side, but you said something nice. You said something normal.
Sure.
I respond, and I have to, in that moment, we may not be aligned politically, but you also read my book, which is very important to me. And you took this time, you spent the money, and his take was like he wished it was my voice on the Audible because he would like to hear me saying fuck with the right, giving it the right intonation.
Verbosity. Right.
Right, exactly. Just with the tones. And someday, when I get my proper book deal, which is I'm believing it's going to happen, we're manifesting that, I will do it myself or hire a real actor to do it. Point being, you can disagree with somebody, but still be decent.
Right.
You can still, like if you're presented with that's it. It doesn't happen to me often that a MAGA person says something nice to me, but in the moment you can say, okay, thank you. There's a common thing that we found right here. Like, I found out that the bass player for our Low Bar Chorale band, his dad, who is 93, is MAGA. And I did not know that when I met him because he wasn't wearing a MAGA hat. And we did not talk about politics. We talked about music and we talked about his 8 children and his, all of these things. And it was great. I had no idea what his politics were. And it didn't matter. And if he came back to Low Bar Chorale, I still wouldn't talk to him about politics because we connected over things that mattered to me, music, writing, and things like that. So what I'm saying is, as we're over and close, there could be common ground. There could be moments of humanity. There could be moments of true connection if everybody took a breath and listened better. Because he did not, in that Ulta store, he was just, hey, I was just wondering. A Southern gay can be a bitch or they can be incredibly polite. And that Southern gay was very polite, and I said this on I think I said this on the last show. I love a Southern gay. The shade or maybe I said it on the Tara show, but the shade from a Southern gay is very specific because no one says, bless your heart. Like a Southern gay, I adore it. And in that moment, like if he had walked away with, oh, well, aren't you special? Bless your heart. And like if he had walked, like that could have been a great closing moment for him. What I'm saying is you can find humanity in anybody most of the time. Like maybe not the elected officials, but in that moment when you have choices, right? She had a choice and she made the wrong choice. She leaned into what you were talking about, which is everything I do and say has to be a performative propaganda moment to please dear leader, which is why she chose to record it, chose to Streisand affect herself, lying about it, saying he's harassing her, wearing Daisy Dukes, is in her face, with all of the things.
Which is just a gay slam that you was like a subtle gay jab. Right.
It's up to us to point this out and change the way we have these conversations.
Right.
And there will be a time where the Nancy Maces and the Pete Hegseths don't have the platform that they have now. And we're seeing resistance and pushback from within the party against those people. We're seeing it. It's happening, and it's going to get worse for them. And we're going to be back out in the streets on May 1st, and we are resisting every single day. And it's really, really important to always shine a light on these things. Like in the grand scheme of things, you may not think that this Nancy Mace thing matters. To me, it does, because it's indicative of the underlying problem in the Republican Party. And so as we are trying to navigate these next few months, and as we're trying to figure out where we're going, I want to see more people standing up and saying, we can actually change the conversation and reframe the way, because it's now what we're facing as a nation is not Democratic, it's not independent, it's not Republican, it's human and American. And that's what we saw on the streets on Saturday. That's what we're going to continue to be pushing, that what we're seeing is not us, it's him and his small cabal of evil, and we can push back against it, and we can pressure it, and it can change. So Pete Hegseth doesn't have a job by Friday is my take.
Cool.
That's where I'm going.
Yeah.
That's where I'm going.
I think
eventually it's going to continue. We're going to see people.
I think he steps down the minute they call for a hearing.
Yes.
Whenever that is, whatever happens I think they call for a committee hearing because they got to talk about this. And Republicans who are sick of this shit, and they want to talk to him, and then he just steps down rather than testify.
Right.
Because I think that I don't think it's a winning thing. And then I also think that they call him in anyways. And like Democrats should push, like, guys trying to dodge it just like Matt Gaetz, and then he becomes the second coming of Matt Gaetz, and we pepper him with that because that's the messaging he chose to live. So thanks so much, Tara Dublin. You do indeed rock. TaraDublinRocks.com.
It's my birthday on Saturday. So
that's right.
My birthday is on Saturday. Buy my book. Sign up for a paid Substack. Wait, I can't. Here, let me get
Put it in the center, right in front of your face. There you go.
TaraDublinRocks.com. And my Substack, or my hey, but if you want to buy me a birthday drink, my Venmo is at Tara Dublin, and every little bit will help me celebrate my. It's not a milestone birthday. I'm gonna be 56 on Saturday, but every little bit of joy that we can carve out in the world with buttercream frosting. Buttercream frosting is it's my right this week. Let me eat cake. Let me eat cake this week. So be good to each other. Everybody support each other. Make sure you sign up for House Substack as well as the Political Voices Network Substack.
And the show this weekend, not the White House Correspondents' Dinner, is happening this weekend on Saturday. Go to Meathook, as in MEET, meathook.live/not, N-O-T, and you can get tickets.
Correct.
And I'll see you guys later on.
And I will be hosting the pre-show. So make sure... Yay! And tune into the Tara Show tomorrow and Thursday when you can find out more about what we're doing to counter-program the White House Correspondents' Dinner.
Beautiful.
All your favorite sexy liberals will be there.
I'll let you go, and then
Thanks,
I'm going to raid Cliff. He's on the air right now, so I'm going to raid him right now.
Oh, bye, Cliff. Bye, Cliff.
All right. Cheers. There she goes. She always dumps out before I get a chance to. And I'm going to raid Cliff right now. And everybody who's in the Twitch chat, send him some love. There we go. And where are we? Raid now. There you go. Now everybody's going to jump over to there. Enjoy the raid. I think it happened, right? I think it happened correctly. We're good. And then I will see the rest of you guys this afternoon, where we will cover the footage. Chat room, by the way. Hi there. Hi, guys. Hi, everybody. Don't forget, hit the like, share the show. Patreon.com/HalSparks and Super Chats. Thank you guys so much for your support of the show. I always get caught up doing the show, and especially when I'm doing Steph's show and then rolling into it, it's a long story. It's not important. The important thing is, above all, I think is, let's see, what would be the, I think it's this. There you go. I think the important thing
Michigan gave us Motang.
Have a great Motang Monday, and I will see you guys later on today. There we go. Excellent. All right. Bye. Hold on. I think I have a screen. There we go. And this. And chat room. And there we go.